Yes! Yes, 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 yes! That was a goal! Goal! Striker! Eat that! And another! Bing bang, stick it in. Thank you and good night.
Twat! That was liquid football!
Shit! Did you see that? He must have a foot like a traction engine. Goal!
Hello everybody, it's your old friends at Monday Madness and welcome back to the Liquid Football Podcast. We're relaunching it this year because, well, we have quite a lot of things to cover. I'm being joined by myself, it's Jonathan, it's Neil, it's Aaron and Burkbot for this episode. And we've got to cover a couple of topics between, obviously, the halfway point of the Premier League season. So we're going to be talking about the clubs that are interesting us the most. We have a little halftime game where we try and pick out some of the invincibles from Arsenal's previous league title win. And just to wrap things off, for old time's sake, we got some Hand of Cods to dish out, including some other club ownerships, Trent Alexander-Arnold, and whatever the United way is. If you're watching this on YouTube, you'll also be treated this to our Football Manager save that myself, Aaron, and Dave are doing, where we are trying to bring a relegation candidate all the way up to Premier League contention. I'm managing Crystal Palace, Dave is managing West Ham, and Aaron is managing Everton. So feel free to watch along or listen along, whichever suits you best. This is Liquid Football Podcast. Okay, so 2026, pretty massive year in the world of football as a World Cup looms in the distance. The African Cup of Nations is currently for grabs in Morocco with a seemingly open field of contenders. And all the while, we have a Champions League with no clear favourites based on the league phase, and a few leagues across Europe looking like they could go down to the wire. Serie A has 5 teams in contention for the league title. La Liga is swapping between an equally flawed Barcelona and an even worse Real Madrid. And a stuttering PSG leaving the door open to a League One title for Lyon or Marseille, who are pushing them all the way. Naturally, the Premier League is sticking its oar in as we've reached a halfway point with 2 clear contenders for the crown. Arsenal have taken a comfortable lead into the new year and appear to have the most complete squad, with Manchester City as their closest competition but carry their own flaws and have staggered over the season. The defending champions Liverpool are looking a shadow of themselves after a summer of tragedy and a squad rebuild that has taken longer than the Copites would have hoped. But the stories don't end there. The London Stadium is looking increasingly likely to be a venue for the Championship. Some teams are on their 3rd manager of the season, and over the last fortnight, 2 of the alleged Big Six have thrown their head coaches out for disagreeing with the club's master plans. Combine that with the proverbial middle class of the Premier League, now flirting with the Champions League, 2 promoted teams scratching and clawing to prove themselves worthy. We have a league title where we have a league table, I should say, where 7 points separate Brentford in 5th and Bournemouth in 15th. So with all this fun and games in mind, I've asked my colleagues here to focus on a club that they believe is the most interesting to them, and to make it a bit harder, it has to be a team that they don't support. So, what do we kick off with you, Neil? What team has been catching your eye since we started off this Premier League journey of ours?
The team that has been kind of catching my eye has to be the coin toss between either. Actually, no, fuck it. The team that's been catching my eye has been Spurs.
Oh, okay, right. You're going straight in, 2-footed.
Oh yeah, let's do this, because this was meant to be the season where they were going to kick on with that Europa League win. This was it. Thomas the Frank engine was going to come in and fucking steamroller us all down, and that was it. We were all going to get cooked. That was it. They were now in the Champions. They were now in the Champions League. They were pot 1 because they were Europa League winners, weren't they? They went into pot 1.
They were pot 2, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Pot 2, right?
Pot 2.
They were a high pot team into the Champions League, and look at where they are now. It's all gone to absolute shit. It's hilarious. They've been given the best running. It is the history of the Tottenham. And the club has taken probably one of the best out of the block starts for this season that they could have ever have had, and they've just completely balls it up, and it is just brilliant. And the club is imploding. It is so much fun to watch. Recently now, Christian Romero has been taking swipes at the board. Let's see if they'll sack him. So yeah, it's so brilliant. Like, I just this was totally predicted by everybody, and they were just like, no, 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 we're in here now. We've got the European trophy, a mid-tier European trophy, yada 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 bullshit. I was like, nope, you're still shite.
It's
And I've
interesting,
just
isn't
been
it?
loving
Like,
it. I've just been loving it.
yeah.
Also here, they've actually been fantastically bad. Like I haven't, they're only my team because I only recently watched two of their games. I haven't, obviously, I don't watch a tremendous amount of Spurs, but I watched the Bournemouth game and holy shit, they were terrible. They are really, really bad. Like
Mm.
I was sitting there going, what the fuck is this? Is terrible. They look like they've never seen a football before. It is garbage. Um, they've decided to start off the January transfer window by selling off last season's top scorer, Brendan Johnson, which is always great. That's always a
Mm.
good one to do.
I don't understand them selling him.
Yeah, for
No.
Like I
35
know,
million.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's that one baffles me. One of my mates hates him. Irrational hatred of Brendan Johnson. Not even a United fan to even just justify the Europa League loss. He's a Chelsea fan, and he's like, yeah, 'cause he's shite. I'm like, he's like their best player. He's like the only one that has any talent. I mean, like, there's no one else there that like stands out in that whole fucking team. Like, no one. Like, there should be with
Mm.
Xavi Simmons, and they have what's his name? Tell. What's for Mateus? Is it
Mateus
Mateus
Yeah,
Tell?
Tell, yeah,
Mateus
yeah.
Tell, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like they have a couple of players inside that really should be showing something, but he was the only one that was doing it. He gave him the championship 2 seasons ago,
Yeah.
and it's just like no mid-season, fuck off. You can 35 million.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I was just laughing at that. I was like, they're flogging him off the palace. I was like, what? What the fuck are you doing that for? Um,
It's a mad one, all right. Like it's again with all the other stuff that's been happening in the league, Spurs have really kind of flown under the radar because they've always been like fourth or fifth in the billing, which if anything is quite Spurs. Like it's
yeah,
always like they're always like the Spurs are also there. You know, they're like the tiny Tim of the equation. We're like and Spurs who did not qualify for Europe, you know that sort of thing where it's like that sort of aspect of it. But it's weird. Like a lot of it, I know a lot of the kind of counter argument has been the fact that like no Solanke, no Kulusevski, and all that sort of stuff. But realistically, it's a very like it's a very interesting time to be a Spurs fan because like again, one of all the things that have happened over the summer, the one thing that flew under the radar was Daniel Levy like just heading off into the sunset, seemingly after like doing what he was meant to do, which was to sack Ange Postecoglou, get the European Cup into the club, and basically lead them with like a delicious looking stadium, which I suppose like to Daniel Levy is success. To most clubs, it probably is a success in that sense. Um, it's fascinating to me in that like obviously like there's no real kind of discernible replacement to Daniel Levy yet, or at least something that's not someone that's not necessarily in the public eye. So Thomas Frank is the one that essentially has to take all the arrows for the team. And realistically, he's not really doing himself any favors by playing the most pragmatic kind of like type of football that Spurs
I'd like
fans
I'd
naturally
like
hate.
to point out. I like to point out when Ten Hag got sacked last season.
Mm.
One of the names that Jonathan thrown out for them to take over was Thomas Frank.
Yeah, yeah, and
And
that's
he's
the
been
that's the curious thing
shite.
is that like yeah, well again this will come back to to the club I was going to talk about later on, but just to stick with Spurs for the moment, like it's interesting that like again with Ange Ball last year, like Spurs were an absolute basket case, but they're also a very watchable basket case in that sense, and I think that's always been a metric with Spurs that like they always have to be attacking or like gung ho or at least like aesthetically pleasing as a football team. I think what the biggest crime that Thomas Frank has at the moment is playing such a tedious brand of football that even the home fans can't get behind him. Even if it's successful, if they were fourth or fifth, I still think they wouldn't like it because of it.
No,
yeah,
they
no, well,
wouldn't.
there is the thing about like playing boring football and being successful, but he's got them playing boring football and they're 14th. You
Yeah,
know, they're
exactly.
they're
Yeah,
one they're one spot above where they finished last season. Like
yeah.
this is hilarious. Like I'm just loving this, you know. And now the injuries are kicking in,
Mm,
so which is hilarious because I think Kudus is out. He got a leg injury in the draw against Sunderland.
mm.
They don't expect him back till March because apparently he's wrecked his quad. And fucking uh, but Bentancur is out now as well. Bentancur's
Yeah.
done his hammy. So yeah, so
And
that's
Romero's suspension's been extended because of the lip he gave the ref after he got sent off against Liverpool.
what's it?
Yeah. That just happened today at time of recording, by the way, in case that is actually just breaking news. Yeah. So his suspension's been extended. Yeah. Our roaming
That
reporter
is
there, Mark, also laughing from the ether about that one.
that is great. All right, to be fair.
Yeah. But it's mad. Like it's it also has to be said that like they've had like their summer like recruitment has not worked either, unfortunately. Like like again they have a perfectly serviceable squad in terms of like certain positions, and like on paper it's the kind of thing that Frank would like to work with. But all the stuff that was being said about Florian Wirtz is actually what they mean when it comes to Xavi Simons, because he was having and like in a horrendously woeful start to Spurs, was playing a lot more football than Wirtz was at the start, and was contributing absolutely nothing. He looked such a lightweight midfield. It was only by good blessing that Mohamed Kudus was playing so well and bed in really, really quickly into that like Spurs midfield that like it kind of took the heat off Simmons a little bit. But as I said, like there's been so many little flare ups between the fans and the players at Spurs. I'm thinking like to myself like, okay, they've got obviously the home form is horrendous, and I think that's kind of the main problem. But I'm nearly, was it's not is the previous game, the game against the loss against Bournemouth, is that not the second or third time they've clashed with fans this season at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium? Because I
It's
remember
probably
I don't remember
second
Romero
anyway.
having
They
that clash earlier
constantly
in the
get
season.
booed off. They constantly
Yeah.
get booed off. Like it's fucking endless. Like they're
I
just
can I just jump in and just be like, where have they got this idea that they should be playing good football? They're Spurs. Like,
Mm.
why is this
Because
news to
I
them that they're shit?
I think because
We
of all the really decent talent that they have inside that squad, they should be rightfully playing better football. But
no,
it's
I
like
would say like if Kulusevski is probably the only player on the Spurs squad that I'd be like, yeah, he's decent. The rest of them are all mid. So the idea that
I'm
they
only
should,
saying, to be fair, I'm only saying on paper.
yeah, fair, but
On
even that,
paper,
like,
that team should be better. You know what I
yeah,
mean? But they're not because it's Spurs. Like, I'd love
um,
to meet the agent who gave Xavi Simmons the idea to go to Spurs.
Mm.
With all
just
that talent, like,
on Spurs, I just want to jump in, of course, as the token woman of the podcast.
Yes.
Their recruitment on the women's side since Daniel Levy has left has skyrocketed, and the Spurs women are actually not necessarily contending for the title, but they are contending for Europe, and they've shown huge ambition this January window already in letting one of their kind of stalwart defenders um, leave on
Oh
a
yeah.
transfer. They got a bit of money
Yeah.
for that. So like,
Yeah, actually Neville going to Leicester. I saw that and thought
yeah,
that's a massive loss to Spurs. And then I look at the players that kind of got back in. It's like actually it's not that bad. It's like
that
it's like for us when we sold Missy Kearns to Villa and we got like Hermano and Herbinger in. It's like actually that okay that kind of cushions softens the blow a little bit, but still a very weird departure, you know. But it's a cash money
but I
deal, so I
think
suppose we
I
can't
think
complain.
it's a cash money deal, but also it shows that they have ambition. Like Neville was a
Mm.
fantastic stalwart of the club, has brought them from Championship up to the WSL. Like she's a bit of an arsehole on the pitch, but kind of the kind of arsehole you want to be on the pitch. You want to be on their team. But like, it's just funny because Daniel Levy leaving actually has improved Spurs women like triple fold. So I just wanted to point that out.
There's something inversely proportional because again, like compared to again, I can't really talk this season because like Liverpool like spending a whole lot of money on their on their men's team and their women's team are bottom of the WSL after like selling their two best players to Arsenal. So like I don't know if that's inversely proportional or not, but it's certainly on trend for what's been a pretty woeful year for Liverpool. Um, I suppose like to kind of to switch back to the men's side of Spurs, where like this obviously this Thomas Frank situation is gonna like either go one of two ways, whether he's gonna basically stay in the club or not. I just wonder, is it because there is no Daniel Levy present at the club? Is there actually any genuine pressure on Thomas Frank to perform here? Is this a similar situation to like last year where like they're not really in danger of getting relegated? Like again, I know like they're 14th, but like because of how compressed the league table is, 14th and 6th are like 1 win away. So is there any like massive danger or urgency on Thomas Frank to essentially just steady the ship?
I don't
Europe are doing
think there
okay,
is.
well,
that's
if
the
he
I
thing.
think
fin
it is
if,
very.
if he finishes lower than they did last season, there definitely will be, you know.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's no, they're not a dead about
But
that. Yeah.
that's but yeah, but I mean that would mean relegation, wouldn't it? Am I
Oh
wrong?
shit,
Yeah.
no,
No.
they finished 17th. Yeah, sorry, it was United
Yes,
who
that would be
United who finished
Yeah.
15th. Sorry, I get
Yeah,
that
yeah. Get your
incorrect.
facts
Yeah.
right, Ari. United finished in the 15th. Okay.
It's a little
So
Sorry,
victories in life,
apologies. They
yeah.
finished 17th.
yeah.
Yeah. No,
Is
if
it?
he finishes it in around 17th, 16th again, like there has to be pressure. I mean, like he's getting booed off the pitch at their own stadium on a regular daily basis. Like
Mm,
it's fucking terrible. Like their fans pay the highest season ticket fees in the world.
yeah.
Um, and yeah, they play in the probably the best stadium in the world. It's really
Mm.
good. And they're just like
Does that pain you to say that?
it
Say
really
something nice
does.
about
I actually
Spurs.
I was there for the Eubank Ben fight rematch, and I was just like, this place can't be that good. And I walked out, and I was like, holy shit, this place is a fucking palace.
Mm.
And
Is that
it
part of
was
the problem, do you think, is because it's too nice? Like they actually it's like what you guys had with the Emirates when you first moved in. Like the
yeah.
actual the fear factor is now gone and Spurs are actually quite nice to
No,
play
no.
against.
What bothered us at the when we first moved to the Emirates was that we were hamstrung paying the fucking thing off. You know,
Yeah.
Fair point. Okay.
that's not affecting Spurs. They're just shit, and they're just oh, fuck, man. Like that squad is just terrible. Like the
Yeah.
squad construction's all wrong. They haven't played any of their top scorers from last season. They've sold one of them off.
Yep.
You know, Madison started off the preseason by wrecking his ACL. They got rid of Son Heung-min. He left during the preseason, and it's just like holy shit. Like I can't imagine them like they're like yeah. Sometimes you're given a bad hand, but also
Mm.
you have to play it well. And we've got shit cards and we're playing it like really badly, and it's just hilarious to watch after all the hubris that they fucking forked out over the summer. They're
No,
like,
Yeah,
to
yeah.
be
oh, we're
fair,
back.
to be fair, they had every right to. I
No,
mean,
they
they
didn't.
did. No, they won a trophy in Europe. They won a trophy. They won something. And I know it was against United, and I know they're 16th in the league, but they at least had the right to have a little bit of arrogance.
Oh no,
No, they didn't have the right to like think, oh, we're in the Champions League next season. Oh, we're going to do this, and we just won the Europa League. They had no right to do that, but they had every right to go. We should really be finishing back in these spots again next year. We should be finishing in the Europa League spot next year.
Yeah.
And with Thomas
Found this
Frank
purpose of
Premier League
silver lining,
experience,
really.
yeah, with Thomas Franco
Mm.
Premier League experience, you thought, okay, this is it. But the biggest mistake was sacking Ange. They shouldn't have sacked him. They should have left him there. They should have at
Mm.
least have given him another season. No, that could have gone down one of two routes, right? It could have worked out. He could have steadied the ship and they could have finished in the top half. Or you would get a Ten Hag situation where he probably should have left after his FA Cup win. He didn't. He spent another 4 months there and it was a fucking disaster.
Mm.
So it was really going to go one of two ways with the end thing. And I think Daniel Levy was just like, no, I don't like him anymore, and I'm gone soon. So that's one last fuck you to the fans
Well,
who
the
don't
thing
like me anyway.
the thing about Ange was that his bullshit had run its course. You know, I mean, like his entire first season at Spurs was basically judge me on my result, judge me on my league position, don't judge me on my results, judge me where we are in the league. I don't think if we win something that allows us to play like garbage in the league position is all that really matters. You know, judge me on league position. And then we come into the second half of the league, he's playing absolute garbage football. They're getting rinsed day in, day out. They finish fucking 17th and they win a trophy. And then all of a sudden, like, oh, well, I always win something on my second season. You know, what does league position matter? I won a trophy. I'm like, hang on, that's not what you were saying last year, you fucking bullshitter, you know? So
Mm.
he kind of dug himself into a hole. Like, he exposed himself as a tremendous hypocrite. And so he had to leave. He had to go. Like he had to, and also like I think he put up a tremendous amount of this, a lot of it deserved bollocks. You know, his interviewer fight ratio was higher than his win ratio. You
This
know,
is true. This is true.
I don't think he's got the skin for the Premier League. He's really thin-skinned. He takes everything personally. He goes off the handle. The journos just love poking him. Like they just
Yeah,
love it. You know,
poking the bear.
they really did like it.
Yeah.
They'll deny it down to the ground, but get a few whiskeys into them. We're like, yeah, fuck him.
Yeah, that's true.
And
Bert Bob, what's been your interesting team to observe and study in this league season?
Okay, so like Neil, it was kind of a coin toss because somehow I've ended up watching a lot of Fulham this season. Um,
Okay.
and they are. Oh, the other team was Brentford, but I feel like I think that's kind of like the cliche team to watch now these days. Um, because where the fuck did Keith Andrews learn how to coach? That's pretty good. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna go with Fulham because I don't know if anyone ever watches Fulham intentionally. So shout out to
Fulham
them.
fans don't even watch football.
I'm
um,
nearly sure they have one, which is Richard Osman, and that's about it.
um, but yeah, no. So basically, there's a couple of the Arsenal kids. So always like seeing how they get on. Um, and they are so hit and miss. Kind of classic Fulham, where they can play absolutely unbelievably devastating football from one end of the pitch to the other, but then it stops. There's no end product. Um, I feel like if Fulham had, for example, a Thiago or a Joelinton from Newcastle playing up front for them, they could
Mm.
actually be devastated because they just don't have that target man up front to let the ball stick and let the like usually three number tens around him shoot or do anything. Um, and then yeah, just kind of um they've been really interesting. Like you could watch them, and because I've no skin in the game, just enjoy seeing some of the ridiculously like unbelievable like random bits of play that they have that just are sprinkled out throughout the match. And you're like, oh, this team could be unbelievable, but they're not. So they're just kind of classic Fulham, where there is just that there's no kind of spine down the back that can stop the ball going in the net. As much as Leno tries and is a solid keeper for them, he just has no backup in defence there. So
Mm.
I suppose I don't really have too much. Like I don't have the um in depth because how in depth can you go with Fulham really because they don't really have depth. But what I like seeing is Iwobi is kind of a leader in that squad. They don't have him at the minute because he's off at the AFCON, and you can actually sense it in the team. But I know they played was it Liverpool last week, and Reed came on and scored a screamer. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much. I just enjoy watching Fulham. They are just kind of you don't know what you're going to get. You're going to get absolute dog shit defending. You're going to get a little bit of magic sprinkled in, and overall, I would hate to be a fan of theirs because there is so much potential in the team that just doesn't pay off.
Hmm, interesting. I get it's funny. I've also found myself watching a lot of Fulham this season, and kind of by accident almost. I realized that like over the Christmas around, shit, I've actually watched these lads three times because, and it's just only because that's how the fixture kind of like landed. Because Liverpool play Fulham, Chelsea play Fulham. I think Arsenal play. Did you guys play Fulham over the Christmas as well, or did United? I can't remember. One of you has played Fulham over the Christmas because I vaguely remember watching three Fulham games in a row.
might have been
Um,
us actually. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
I can't
I don't.
remember,
For
but
some reason, I don't have a United Fulham game in my head anytime recently.
no, yeah. So again,
That
United
because you
Fulham is one of
blocked
those
it
games.
out.
Yeah, I was about to say it's like you don't even remember like like United Fulham somehow can only like exist if like Dimitar Berbatov's on the pitch or something, you know. But yeah, it's a weird one because like I'm also looking at the Fulham team and I think like it's Fulham I think might be the most like economical like team in the league. Like I think they could actually be more like eco-friendly than Forest Green Rovers are because what they are doing is reducing and reusing all like Premier League players from like different clubs. Like their entire club, their entire squad is basically made from
What?
offcuts of like like other teams. Like there's a, as Burtbot said, there's a whole Arsenal spine in the team from Leno to Iwobi to Smith Rowe, who is getting a full season under his belt again, which is great to see. Because I was a big fan of Smith Rowe. I thought he was a fantastic little quality little player. He just needed,
You weren't the only one. Like
you know, I
all
know,
fans of
yeah,
him. He couldn't stay fit.
yeah, absolutely. From a Liverpool point of view, I'm just delighted to see Harry Wilson getting the flowers that he deserves. And again, they're long overdue. Wilson was always one of those kind of players that like he came through the Liverpool's like academy and Welsh international at such an early age. Kind of like very similar to how Ben Ganondoka is at the moment for Bournemouth. Like peaked very, very early, had some really horrible like injuries at a woeful time, and unfortunately he wasn't a Jurgen Klopp player at that time. Hilarious enough now, I'd say if Klopp was back at the club now, and if you gave him a chance, he'd probably re-sign Harry Wilson because he's the type of player that Klopp would love. With that little Shaqiri pocket rocket, like, just poke a few goals in every now and then. Not central of the squad, but just come off the bench and score a goal for us. That's the Shaqiri, the Origi effect that like Klopp always loved. But then you look at there's other players that's kind of dribbled in there. Like I mean, like there's some serious potential in that team, as Burkbot said. It also should be said as well, it's a very young team too. Like it is one of those like I mentioned, it's been a kind of a phrase that's been coined in the last season or two. It's the Premier League middle class. It's the teams that are not under pressure of relegation but they're also neither in pressure of Europe either. So they can almost kind of live in this kind of like season free of expectation. They can just go based on vibes. And as you kind of said very well, Bert, but I think it like Fulham kind of live on vibes a little bit as well because all they have to do is like their home games. You just rock up to Craven Cottage and have a wonderful time. Like get the volley out and just watch a nice football team play without any kind of strings attached. Because if they lose, oh well, that's Celebi. We'll just go again and go again next week and we'll be fine.
Yeah, I think
You have to hand it to. Sorry, Neil. Just
Oh, no, go for it.
I'm gonna mix two different sports in here. You have to hand it to Tony Khan
Mm.
for somehow having a pretty middle of the road decent job at a Premier League team, but for some reason that doesn't go into the wrestling aspect of things, where that seems like it's booked on crack. I'm not going to spend too much time on the wrestling thing, but that does seem like it's booked on. That looks like more like Tony Khan with the way he looks, but it seems like with Fulham, it's like that's a completely different man dealing with that thing.
It's mental, isn't it? Because like you look at how like sensible Fulham is, and you're thinking like again like obviously Tony Khan is the sporting director of the club, and like he basically just flies in every now and then to get a transfer done. And like when you hear it in that sense, it's thinking like, well, he clearly must be doing something mental with his money. And bear in mind, this is also a Fulham team that was previously owned by Mohammed Al Fayed, who famously got a statue of Michael Jackson outside Craven Cottage.
Yeah.
So Fulham have a history of eccentric owners. So wrestling promoter is low on the totem pole of like crackheads they could actually have in charge of the club. And but again, what's hilarious is that like he obviously has like, and I remember reading an article about it because I was genuinely curious, how does Tony Khan work with Fulham? And the case is basically he just has some very solid, reliable people underneath him that says, here's a player you want to sign. Can you secure the funds from your dad? The answer is yes. Sign the deal, get the contracts done. Bob's your uncle. And like even look at the season, Fulham, all the Marco Silva asked for were two wingers. So you got Samuel Chukwueze, who's a brilliant winger, and then Kevin from Shakhtar Donetsk, the club in Europe that you buy your Brazilian wingers from. It's no brainer. And then, as Verpa said, if they combine that with like a star striker, if they get a really really top tier striker in to partner up with Raul Jimenez, it's a serious team. But again, it's that kind of same thing where like, okay, then they'll need new centre backs, but they won't get them this year, they'll get them next year and all this sort of stuff. The stars will never align for Fulham to actually make it beyond, say, the like ninth or tenth. But maybe Fulham are okay with that. Like, are they just okay just like banking on the Premier League money and just existing? Like maybe they've got the right idea.
They're probably fine with it now,
Yeah.
but it's going to seamlessly go into my team.
By all means, if you have a seamless transition, take it, go for it.
I will take the seamless transition. You don't want to do what happened with Wolves. Because
Wolves, okay. Right.
Who?
Because Wolves.
They're not West Brom, okay?
Yeah, they're not West Brom, yeah.
I know you're out walking the dog right now, but they are not the same club. Write it down somewhere, okay?
I have it on my hand. It's okay.
Right, okay.
Because Wolves were that team, where they'd have a season or two where they'd push up and they'd get Europe and everything was great. And then they were more or less middle of the road with their really good poaching of Portuguese talent, and they were fine. And one of them leaves, you don't replace them. You're like, oh, that's fine. Okay. And two of them leaves, and you're like, you should probably replace them. And they don't. And who they replace them with is not great. And then you get to a point where Cunha goes to Man United. You're like, oh, shit. We don't have anyone to replace anyone. Oh, fuck. What have we done? Because, like, you went through the Premier League predictions we had at the start, and most people in the group had them to go down. But no one had this. Like, this is... Like, everyone jokes every year who's going to be the team that beats Derby in the points and the shittest points ever. And Wolves are there now, and we're at fucking January.
Yeah.
They've got one win all season.
Again,
as somebody said,
we should say, like
as somebody said on Twitter, they keep retweeting every time someone beats West Ham who are doing bad. You think the tactics are finally worked, and then you realize you just beat West Ham. So they're not just bad; they're like really bad, really bad. I've watched it like 4 times this season. Every single time I've seen them, I'm going, "You're a championship team," and they're doing so bad that they could do a Luton on it and drop twice.
It's very possible because the money is dried up. That's the thing. That the ownership has dried up at Wolves because again they were the kind of the poster boys for this, like for the Chinese are coming to English football. They were the poster boys because it wasn't just them. It was also West Brom, who again Burt bought are a different club. Okay, good. Okay, got that? Cool. Yeah, great, fantastic, great. And there's a couple of other teams in between there as well that had like a bit of Chinese money with them. But the difference with Wolves was that they had the hookup, as you said, with Jorge Mendes, who essentially just had the Rolodex of Portuguese players and got all of them in. Like, and they're world class players. Like again,
they got Neves in the championship.
Yeah,
they had such a good guy. They got Neves in the they took him away
and Jota,
captain. And Jonathan, they took away a captain from Porto who was playing in the Champions League and went, do you want to play African Stanley on Wednesday? Like, they were doing so well. And then it just got to the point where, the money is drying up, but at least they have the talent. At least if they do sell 1 or 2 of their players, then at least be able to replace them eventually. Yeah. And those replacements never came. Like, the big one in my head is selling Jimenez and bringing in Silva, who was dog water.
He was terrible.
Genuine. He's terrible.
Yeah.
Don't know how he's doing Borussia Dortmund.
Yeah, I was about to say, is it just a matter of timing? Because they also would have had Vitinha on the books a year before he really kind of like dug in and became the player now at PSG. Likewise, Fabio Silva now is a starter for Borussia Dortmund, which is, I don't know if that's just a damnation of like how bad the Bundesliga is now that Fabio Silva is a starter. Considering that, like in the Premier League, I don't think he'd even make the bench. You know, I don't know. Maybe that's just different semantics and stuff. But yeah, definitely it's a case where like
it is baffling like how bad they were. And I have no idea what your man was doing when he decided, Middlesbrough, I could get Middlesbrough into the Premier League. I'm going to take the worst team in the history of the Prem currently to take over. It's the most Paul June move to Derby I've ever seen in my entire life.
I was about to say that as well. Like, I don't know what the fuck Rob Edwards was thinking going
Rob Edwards, there we go.
Yeah.
You know, I'm thinking, Jesus Christ. I've not a whole lot of sympathy for him, to be perfectly honest with you, because he's not the right man to organise this fucking rabble. And, Jesus, you know, all right, fine, he's some affinity with the club, you know. But
he's there for like 5 years, 6 years, I think. Like, he was really should have stayed for a while. Yeah.
Wolves should have pulled the big fat Sam Ripcord rather than get in Rob Edwards. But
they should have done Sam for the end of the season and then bring in Rob Edwards.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're relegated. No, we just need a manager who's going to stabilise us in the championship for a season and push us promotion. Yeah. Don't get him in now when you don't know your ass from your elbows. Like, what are we fucking doing here? Like, you know what I mean?
But what's also mad is that Rob Edwards is also the same guy that got Luton promoted and then also essentially relegated. I know he did
Yeah.
leave before Luton got relegated to League One. But again, it's fascinating that like it just like it's all rotated back to Rob Edwards in a sense. This is like
Mm.
it obviously he's good enough to get a team organized enough to get promoted. And to be fair to Luton, they were at least competitive. They just didn't have the funds nor the star quality to stay up in the Premier League. Because again, this season is such an outlier this compared to all the promoted teams actually doing well. And again, ultimately, it's because they've got their elbows out and are just like smashing teams for all intents and purposes. Like Leeds and Sunderland are violent on the football pitch, but it's working. This is the year where you can be violent on the football pitch because like just randomly everyone's gone back to set pieces and corners, and throw-ins. So it's worked out very well in that sense. Um, Funny enough, my team that I've paid extra attention to is a very very recent one because I had fully intended to talk about Villa and how like this insane run of form has kind of come in, basically because like with all these other teams, like a lot of teams are going for like tactical flexibility nowadays. Like they're all kind of chameleon teams. Like they're not like the teams that are like sticking to a doctrine, like Amarim's 3-4-3 and like the control possession, all this sort of stuff is all dying a bit of a death. Whereas Villa's the outlier, where like Unai Emery is steadfast in his system and his style of players and his recruitment. The basically Villa said, "Do you know what? You do what you need to do, Emery. We'll follow you. We'll pay you. Just you tell us what you want." And it's got them to third place in the chat in the Premier
Oh,
League.
that would be
More
great,
like
wouldn't
Chelsea
it?
football.
Imagine,
Yeah,
imagine having an ownership that just let the manager do what they wanted to do. That's
yeah.
mad.
But the team I actually
Be
did
having
want to
that.
talk
Can't be
about.
having
Yeah,
that.
it never happened. It would
Oh, you
never
can't be
happen.
having that.
No, never happened. But again, the team I actually wanted to talk about was actually Brentford, because Brentford are exactly the type of club that Chelsea and Manchester United wish to be, in a sense. Um, but I think what they're learning is
But
that like
do they play the United way? And they don't. So why would you want to have that type of fucking
yeah, but they
stability?
play the Brentford way, Aaron. That's the difference. And the Brentford way
But
is that
that's
it really doesn't matter
but
who the
the
head coach is. They just
but
play football.
The United way wins Champions Leagues 15 years ago, and it never changes. All right, you never have to change it. Okay, doesn't matter who comes in, you never
Yeah.
have to change it.
But do you
As
know
you
where
can tell,
Brentford was 15 years ago, Aaron?
Yeah, that's true.
I've no idea
They were in
actually. I actually don't know
League
myself, to
Two.
be honest with you.
I think they were in League Two 15 years
They
ago.
probably
To
would have
be
been League Two,
honest.
yeah. But again, that's also not unusual. They're not the only team to have been like in the dregs now suddenly up here. But I think the reason why Brentford have caught my interest so much is again, I not to say I haven't seen very little of Brentford, but it's the kind of thing Brentford are again another one of those that's just kind of flown under the radar enough that now suddenly they've racked up a couple of wins and people are turning their heads, rubbing their eyes, and shocked to see that there's a Paddy running the team. Like it's that kind of like it's that kind of institutional racism you can only get in the English press when they realize, oh, all credit to Keith Andrews is like, and now they're frankly googling who Keith Andrews actually is, and then being quite livid when they realize he's not English and therefore can't replace Thomas Tuchel. But my kind of main cut thrust with Brentford is, and again, it's appropriate that we started with Thomas Frank, so we'll end with Thomas Frank with this segment, is that Thomas Frank obviously got so much plaudits for bringing this Brentford team seemingly into the reach of like a competent championship team, then that next step up then to becoming a competent Premier League team, and all the while this constant churn of players leaving and going from Brentford. And it's always seems to be their strikers as well. Strange enough, it like initially started off with Ollie Watkins, then it was Neil Maupay, Ivan Toney, Brian Mbumo, and now suddenly they just like they've found Igor Thiago, like they just like grown him in the lab. But of course, the one thing that like people remember at Brentford is that Brentford are unique in having they don't have a reserves team that play in like say the typical kind of like reserve structure in England. They have a B team and they treat them like a B team. So they get like they have basically like a different like scholarship program, different coaches and all this sort of stuff. Like they basically are like they treat that B team as if it is their own kind of like Premier League team outfit. And any players that they normally sign, if they're not like surefire first team players, like whatever kind of like big stars they could in to sign, they start in the B team and work their way through, and they almost like get educated in whatever kind of like structure Brentford have. And I suppose that's what's kind of caught my eye is the idea of structure, because no one could tell me off the top of my head who's the sporting director of Brentford. Like, who's the
No.
director of football? Who's this, that, the other? Like, people completely didn't notice that Brentford got sold this season. Like, the Danish contingent that used to be there, that had that connection with Michelin, is gone. They've sold their stake to someone else. We've all missed that. We all slept on that. You know what I mean? And yet it hasn't affected the team. Like the manager leaving the team hasn't affected them. Like if the fact that they've essentially, for all intents and purposes, like recruited a rank amateur in Keith Andrews as a manager has not affected them. But again, what it's done is they've shown that they've actually got a march on everyone else by saying, okay, we've seen that long throws, set pieces, and all these different things are back in vogue, and we don't know how long they're going to be here for because again, football is fluid and ever evolving. Let's get a set piece man on the touchline. Let him be the head coach because he's got a connection with the players. He works with them on a very granular level. And yes, it's all about high performance, fucking Jake Humphrey, but that is football. I mean, have you ever heard of a TED pep talk? Holy fuck, I would stick forks in my eyes if I had to listen to that twice. But that's football. That's high tier football. And Keith Andrews is getting the best out of his players that way, which makes it all the more fascinating then when you look at teams above him. Um, Namely like United and Chelsea and stuff like that. And they are trying to do the same structures that, like, if it's not Brentford, it's Brighton and Bournemouth and all these other teams where you have sporting directors and directors of football and heads of recruitment and heads of recruitment's tea lady and all these different job titles.
But they're not
And
going
none of
the
it's
Chelsea
working.
route with 5 sporting directors.
Yeah, exactly. And for all their 5 clubs. But it's the same thing where like the two big sackings this season have had nothing to do with sporting results ultimately.
Yeah,
Because
no, they
Chelsea,
have.
I've watched a lot of Chelsea this season. They haven't been playing that bad. When you factor in that they were playing up as far as July, and they have 3 gaping holes in their defense, and Mark Cucurella, who I count as a gaping hole in their defense. I love him. He's a fantastic footballer to watch. He's one of those kind of main characters in football. But my God, I'd hate to have to play with him because he's like a golden retriever. He just bolts. He's gone. Like he's like he is literally that dog in the meme video. Fenton, Jesus Christ, Cucurella. I love him. Honestly, I love him. But the thing is that with Maresca, his greatest like crime was not wanting his players sold by a sporting director who is more switched on about cash flow and making money for Chelsea and keeping the books turning, not balanced, just turning enough that like, okay, we'll just sack the manager then and get Liam Rossenior in, who is essentially just going to say and tell us what we want, and we'll ignore him, and he'll
Yeah,
just have to take what he wants.
and get him in for 5 years.
Yeah, but again, it's the same
Yeah,
thing.
which
They'll pay him for 6 years,
which
no
is
problem if he gets
mad.
sacked.
I'm sorry, but managers on 6-year contract is utter woke nonsense of the highest order.
Yeah.
Managers should be getting 3-year contracts. No, United have done this as well. The first contract they offered out after Ferguson there was a 6-year deal to David Moyes, and he went to 3 clubs in that 6 years.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? Like,
But again, it's funny you should
6-year
mention
contracts to
United as
managers
well.
is just is. I do you want me to get me started? Do you want me to get me started?
No, what I was going to say about United is that it's the same thing where like like the club essentially just ended up being a power struggle between sporting director and head coach and manager and whoever this kind of ethereal thing actually means.
Yeah, but
And
when
it
you
just
say that about Chelsea, like which sporting director are you talking about? They do have 5 of them.
yeah, exactly. Well,
Do they
again,
actually? I thought you were taking the piss. Do they actually have
No,
5
they actually
sporting
do.
directors?
They have 5. Lawrence Stewart and Paul Winstanley are the 2 chief sporting directors. Then underneath them, there are 3 further sporting directors: Dave Fallows, Joe Shields, and Sam Jewell. They have
Utter
5.
woke nonsense.
Yeah, and what's hilarious is that they've 5 sporting directors, but then they've got Igbali there who can override every single one of them.
Yeah. So basically, those like 5 sport directors, they are essentially they are the Blue Co sporting directors. If
Aaron's
that
just
makes sense.
thrown down his
Yeah.
glasses.
And
Yeah.
do any of them look out over the women's team for Chelsea? Like, I'm genuinely asking. Like, or is there a separate
I
I
don't.
think they have a
unit
separate
for
one.
them?
They have separate.
No,
No,
none of them
they
do,
have
no.
their own 5 sporting directors, and the 21s have their own 5 sporting directors,
Yeah.
and it goes all the way down, and they actually work their way up to be main sporting directors. The
Yeah.
sporting directors for the under-18s are actually 16 years old. They're slowly breeding them to get up into the top.
It's like the young
5
Tory
sport-
competition, is it? Like,
Yeah, 5 sporting directors. Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
Yeah, but to answer your question, Burpa, I think, as far as I know, I think it's not the same relationship that Maresca had with his sporting directing committee. I think Sonia Bombastor has a lot of influence and power over what players she wants, and I think it literally is the case. It's more of a traditional setup where like she says what she wants on a shopping list, and and the club go get them and spend the money. Um, but and it's quite evident as well because you don't have the same squad churn that like the Chelsea men's team has to do. And again, as awful as it's gonna sound, it's probably because like Blue Coat don't believe there's any like massive profits in like in women's football, so they're able to just amass a
Which
world class team.
I think
like they did and sit on it.
that's probably it too. The women's
But
game
it's good.
doesn't
That's
bring
a good
in.
thing though. That's good for Chelsea. It
Yeah,
keeps the team stable.
Well,
it
it's
keeps the team
good when
ticking.
you
Yeah,
can sell the team to your fucking self.
Yeah, well, that's the other
Yeah.
part of it too.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'll have a little bit on that later, I think.
Oh, you will. Yes, yes. We have cods to dish out later. But yeah, as I said, like I think Brentford is fascinating because again, in that kind of middle class bracket where they can dick about with coaches and manager and sporting directors and structures all they want, and the clubs above them are so envious about wanting to adopt this when they should go like maybe the policy is like just be a elite club and just buy like poach the players and do it your own way or whatever because you have the extra financial grunt and the extra fan base to
Chelsea.
do it.
The thing is as well with Chelsea. Chelsea were the team for the last 15, 20 years
Yeah.
who were ruthless
Mm.
in getting success.
Yes.
You could win the Prep, you could win the double, and you're getting sacked because you just had a shit Champions League run.
Yep. Absolutely.
Like
Yeah.
it was in Abramovich ran that place like a machine.
Yeah.
And yes, he probably. Oh, I mean, he had to sell. He literally had no legal recourse not to sell.
Yes.
Club.
Exactly. Yeah.
Otherwise they would have stopped existing if they
Yes.
didn't. But like Chelsea have become, I think, and Niall's about to bash his computer, and when I say this, I'm probably Burkbot. They're the biggest club in London in the modern era, right? They've won more league titles than Arsenal. They've won more trophies than Arsenal. They've got 2 European Cups. They've got a Conference League, and they've got 1 Europa League. The Europa League they won as they held the Champions League, which is like the first team to ever do that, right? They're the biggest club in London in the modern day, right? Now, in terms of probably history, no, they're not.
No.
Of course
Yeah.
not.
I was about to say,
Arsenal are the biggest club in terms of like overall history. But in the last 20 years, Chelsea came in and just blew them out of the water. There's no team that comes close to Chelsea in the last 20 years in most of the league. Don't mind London. And now they've turned into kind of a laughing stock.
An absolute laughing stock. Like
an absolute in the space of 2 years.
Yeah.
It's fucking insane how people used to fear Chelsea and the best managers on planet Earth, World Cup winning managers, went into that team and got sacked after 8 months because they were like 3rd in December or something ludicrous like that. And they've got Liam Rossini here to come in. They had Ancelotti, they had Conte, they had Mourinho, they had Luis Felipe Scolari, they had Gus Hiddink twice, and he won the FA Cup. I think the 2 times he was there. Did he win? I know he definitely won it once. I think he might have won it
twice as well, didn't they?
They had Mourinho twice.
Yeah.
And now they've got Liam Rossini here, and he's probably going to be fine, and they'll probably just make a Champions League spot, and everything will be okay.
I don't even think they'll do that, to be honest.
Maybe they won't. Do you know what? They'll probably make a European spot, and everything will be okay.
Yeah.
But that fear is gone. No manager wants to join him now because they think they might get sacked in 6 months. No manager wants to join him now because they're going to have to deal with 5 lads in the background going, I think you should play Cucurella in centre back. And they'll be like, what the fuck are you on about? Why the fuck would I do that?
And they've got agents calling them up saying, you're not giving my guys fucking...
Yeah.
You're not giving my guys minutes. That's what one of the things Maresca was complaining about was that, the agents would call him up and say, like Liam Delap's agent was calling him up and going, like, you're not giving my guy time. And he's just like, I'm not playing because he's not that good.
Do you know what they need, right? They just need 6 more wingers on the left-hand side and they'll win everything.
And
That's
maybe 6 more sporting directors and then field them.
And maybe six more sporting directors, and maybe a couple of centre-backs and they'll be all fine. Do you know what? Maybe another goalkeeper or 2, because you can never have enough goalkeepers. They've got 6 at the moment. So I feel like, they can't even do what...
Are Queeveen Kelleher.
None of them are Queeving, exactly.
Yeah.
No, and the funny thing is about that, they couldn't even do what Abramovich used to do with Chelsea, which was just sack him off to Holland for fucking 4 years. Well, they just like, well, we'll sell him for 5 million down the line. They can't even do that anymore.
Well, they
No.
have Strasbourg, in fairness. Like,
Yeah, but he used to beat him. He used to piss out of it. Again, one of the reasons why there's a limit on loan players is because of the Chelseas. And I found out when the rule came in was Udinese, who had like something like 40 players out in loan one season.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, no, that's what I was saying about the pizza family. Yeah, because they used Watford as their breeding ground for Udinese players, and then Watford
Yeah.
got promoted, and they had to do it the other way around because Udinese got relegated. Hilarious. Anyway, that's the end of our first half of this show, lads. So we're going to take a little bit of a reader here and give you a little halftime game called Winning 11. So this is Winning 11. This is our little palate cleanser for those in the room and for those watching and listening at home. Think of it like your slice of orange at halftime and your manager shouts positive profanities at you. So what's happening here is that I've scoured the match reports of the past, and I'm going to challenge my colleagues here to try and suss out the team lineup from any given match that I find interesting. So how this will work is that one of you will call out a name. If it's correct, you get a point. If you're wrong, you're out of the game. You're eliminated. Now, just to be fair, if you do magically find a substitute who played in that game, you don't get the point, but you get to stay in the game. And we'll be going in a round, so everyone gets to have one go before we get to the second round of picks, let's say. So, with all that in mind, and seeing that we could possibly have a league title returning to North London for the first time in 20 years, I thought we'd go back to one of the most famous of league title wins, which is, of course, the Invincible season. So, the team I'm going to get you to identify is the winning 11 of the 2-1 victory by Arsenal against Leicester in the end of the 2003-2004 season. So, that is, of course, the team that made them the Invincibles. So, I thought occurred that Burkball, you probably don't have access to the view here, so I will call out the players that I have as potential candidates. These are all team players that featured at some point in the 2003-2004 season, and I'm going to get you to suss out the players. So, in no particular order, we have Jens Lehmann, Graham Stack, Stuart Taylor, Martin Keown, Colo Torre, Pascal Segan, Sol Campbell, Ashley Cole, Gail Clichy, Justin Hoyt, Lauren, Robert Perez, Gilberto Silva, Patrick Vieira, Edu Gaspar, Ray Parler, Jeremy Aledier, Freddie Ljungberg, Thierry Henry, Dennis Bergkamp, Sylvain Wiltord, Wango Kanu, and Jose Antonio Reyes. So,
Edu Gaspar, I
first?
think he seems like a man who could sign some great players for Arsenal in the future and then just do something with Nottingham Forest. I don't know. He just seems
That is
strikes me
oddly
as a man-
specific, Aaron. I'll be honest. That's
It's
a
oddly
strange call, that
specific,
is,
isn't
yeah.
it?
Okay, so who wants to step up first and put a name?
I'm
take the name on the
I'm going to
t-shirt?
step up with the easy one and just go Thierry Henry because that is the easy one, I think.
Well, Thierry Henry is the easy one in that case because, of course, he did start
Yeah.
and score in the game against Leicester. So yes, he did in fact start in that one. So Aaron's off the mark. So Neil and Burkbot, the baton pass to you.
I'm trying. Like, I could go with the obvious, my first thought, but I'm gonna go with Lundberg.
Freddie Ljungberg played on the right wing of midfield. So yes, he did start the game. So Burkbot's off the mark as well.
Gonna be a
Neil.
pretty good one for me. I'll get the other goal scorer, which was Vieira.
Patrick Vieira indeed scored and captained the team to what will be eventually the Invincibles season. So Patrick Vieira indeed on the field for that one. So we are 3 for 3 so far.
Keen.
What?
Tim Potlar Keen.
you're up next, Aaron, on that one. So
Sol Campbell.
Sol Campbell
Yeah.
is also on the field. So Sol Campbell on the, as it were, the left-hand side of that midfield. So Aaron, you're on 2. Burkbot, you're up next.
I feel like this could be my specialist subject if I was to ever do Mastermind, because I was so
This is the fun bit because again, it's the specific match as opposed to the average 11 over the season. So who are you going for?
layman.
Jens Lehmann, yes, of course. How could it be? I mean, considering that like the other 2 options are fucking Graham Stack or Stuart Taylor, it could only be Jens Lehmann in fairness. So yes, Burkbot, you're off the mark on that one.
Graham Stott does not sound like a title-winning player. He sounds like a lad that should have been playing in the defence when they were in like the 2nd division in the 50s.
Some hilarious stories about him over the
He is
Invincible
mental.
season. He was
He's
fucking brilliant.
absolutely mental. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's cracked. He always was cracked. Like he never got picked for Ireland because he was a mentalist. Like
Barry,
He's Irish?
he never played for the Invincibles. Like he never. I
Yep.
think he did a cup game. He did a few cup games.
That's
but,
it.
Like,
Yeah.
that
Not in the
was it.
Premier League, no. No.
Wasn't there a story where like in a training out, like, so Emma Byrne used to train up with the men's goalkeepers because there's no designated goalkeeper coach, and she came up and they made a 4, so it was Emma, the 3 men goalies doing like a foursome drill, and he two
Mm.
her for no reason. Like she was like, I was doing a handling drill, like it was like 20 shots to the face, like you're stopping them, and he just decided while she was distracted, saving a ball with her hand, he put her. I could be misinterpreting that, but I don't know. I heard that somewhere.
That's to be fair, that sounds very on brand for him. In fairness, so yeah, I think that checks
No,
out.
the favorite story about him is him selling one of his dugout ticket to a drunk Liverpool fan for the game against Liverpool, and seeing the fan on the television. He went to the pub to watch the game.
Yeah,
And on the telly, he saw the Liverpool fan stumbling around the fucking dugout, like next to Arsene Wenger and everybody. He's like, oh shit.
I'm 99% sure there was a storyline on Dream Team, so I know exactly where they got that from. Then
Yeah,
that does feel like a storyline in Dream Team, actually.
It was
Yeah.
that, he was just like, obviously he's never gonna play, like, so he just sold his fucking match ticket to a drunk Liverpool fan who somehow managed to get into the fucking Arsenal dugout.
Yeah. That's tremendous.
I just remembered my source for that goalkeeper story, and it's not reliable. I feel like that might have been a fever dream.
That's fair. Okay, Neil, your second pick. Now the Vertbot's off on 2 mark points as well. So who is on this team sheet?
Oh, Cashley Cole.
Cashley Cole, yes, of course. Least you forget low-hanging fruit there, I suppose. Starting perennial left back for the team at the time. Let's not talk about what happened after.
Nope.
So yes, we are 2 all across the board. And Aaron, we pass it to you, the non-gooner in the room.
Perez.
Yeah, Roberto
100%,
Perez. Robert Perez, but even he just style-wise, Roberto Perez. It just tracks more, doesn't it?
I
Roberto Perez, he's fucking French, man.
He's more exotic than that.
He was my brother's favorite Arsenal player in this time, and I actually had his autograph in my room for years because I found out you could just write to a club, and if you mentioned the player, they just send back an autograph. Yeah, you probably still can do that. I had Ronaldo's autograph from the 04 or 05 season. I still think I do somewhere kicking about my house in Cork.
I love that.
So if you just mentioned the player and it was like he's my favorite player, the club would send back something small, granted, but it was something, and this was like a copy and paste letter going, oh, thanks for being a fan and whatever. And I told Kean that, he was just like, oh, let's try and do it with an Arsenal player. We mentioned Robert Perez, and they just sent back like 6 weeks later a fucking autograph, and I think
that's really cool.
I think it was I think you know what, you could probably still do that. I mean, there's a chance here you could still do that. The funny thing was, we did that in school. I'm going off topic here, but it's a fun little story. We did that in school, and somebody did it for Damien Duff in his Blackburn days.
Right.
And he got back a scarf, he got back an autograph, he got back 2 or 3 match programs and a handful of other little trinket things for Blackburn. Because who the fuck is writing a letter into Blackburn Rovers in what? 0102 and actually a fan of them. He just didn't like football but knew who Damien Duff was.
That's something actually kind of fitting, isn't it? Like, yeah, and also the tracks kind of Damien Duff as well. It's like, holy shit, I have a fan. Give him fucking everything I have. Like ripping the shirt off his own back for him or something like that. Yeah.
I'm going to try this with Fulham.
Yeah, I do actually. Yeah. Yeah. Do you know why? What happens is Burke will end up with tickets to fucking AEW fucking All In or something like that after. Like it's just like, hi, I hate wrestling. Prove me wrong. Hi, I just want to attend your show. I still hate wrestling. Thanks.
CM Punk is my favorite wrestler. I heard he wrestles with you. Can I please see him?
Don't mention the war. Okay, Burko, you're up next.
The 2 young bucks in the background going, I'm going to go over there and head over to Mel's Drive myself.
Yeah. So we still have a few spots left on the field there, Burkbot. Who do you fancy putting on the board next?
I am gonna go with who I'm fairly sure didn't start the game but played, so that's allowed. Or do I just have to go with the starting 11?
No, you can go start 11 will get you a point, but if you do get a sub right, you can stay in the game, but you won't get a point.
Right, well then I'll play it safe and go with Colo Torre.
Colo Torre was indeed Sol Campbell's partner in defence on the right-hand side. So he did start the game indeed. And so that means, Neil, the baton is passed to you.
I think I'll complete that back line with Lauren.
Lauren, indeed. Yes, absolutely. That is our back 4 completed. We have 2 spots left. Oh, I love the Russian roulette side of this. Now, this is going to be fun. So everyone's 3 for 3 here. I think it's fair to say if you suss out the entire winning 11, you all win. I think that's fair. That's a reasonable discourse, I think. So, Aaron, let's see if you can take it home.
I feel like Silver played next. I feel like Silver played next to Vieira and that too.
Gilberto Silva?
Yeah.
You are correct.
Yeah.
Gilberto Silva did partner.
The last one, no, by the way, the last one should be.
Nah, don't say it. Don't say it. Don't say it.
Yeah. I'm not going to say it, but there's 2 Arsenal fans left. If they don't get it, I'll slap them.
Well, let's see if Burke can prove you right or wrong. Burke, last name on the pitch. Who have you got?
I'm gonna be really, I don't know, cocky, and I'm gonna say the substitute that came on for the last remaining person, because I know who the last remaining person is, and that is Jose Antonio
Reyes. We didn't quite catch that with there, Burke. Just repeat that.
It was Jose Antonio Reyes. Because she's really loud in my ear, yeah. So
fair play, right? Well done. Yes, Reyes did not start, but he was a sub. So the game rolls on. So you don't get the point, but the game rolls on. So Neil,
funnily enough, I'm going to get the player that Reyes came on for, which was Bergkamp.
Yes, I know. I thought I heard Bergkamp there as well on Burpot's side, but that is the team completed. Well done, everyone. That was a team effort. It says the least. So I think everyone wins on that one. For a pig iron, just for, I suppose, for a little solitary prize. What were the 2 other subs in that game? So Burpot's kind of sussed out one of the subs already. I'll give yourself, Neil and Aaron, one guess to see who the other 2 subs were.
I'm gonna go with it's either gonna be. I feel like he definitely bought on defender, but I think it's obvious. I don't know. But I'm going to go with one of the players he probably brought on to replace either like Perez or Ljungberg. And I'm going to go with Kanu. I feel like he probably slipped him on at some. Yeah, he slipped him on at some point.
All right. Nope. And Neil, who did you pick? Who are you going for?
Edu.
Okay, so these are 2 picks. Let's see. Burpo, do you want to throw in a guess here as well?
Yeah, I'm going to go Parler.
Ray Parler. Okay, interesting. Right, so I'll actually give you the full subs bench. So Graham Stack was on the bench. Not sure how, but he was there. Martin Keown, Edu Gaspar, Ray Parler, and Jose Reyes was subs bench. So obviously we've already got Reyes in this game. Ray Parler was not playing in that game. He stayed on the subs bench. Kanu wasn't even in the squad. So the correct answers were Edu Gaspar, who did indeed come on, I believe, for Perez in the end. Yeah. And it was for Martin Keown was the other sub in that game.
And for
If
Youngberg.
memories, yeah, for Freddie Youngberg, exactly. Yeah. So there you go. There's your three subs. But I think well done, everyone. That was. I think we all won that one there, fair and square. So well done, team effort there. Okay, so with that in mind, then it's time to wrap up the show, guys, with some fucking cods.
Cristiano Ronaldo is a cod. I don't care what it is. I mean, you can't say that.
You seem exceedingly smug about the idea of people, kids particularly.
Your brother, he's a guy who ran away and left his wife for a young one.
So for anyone who doesn't know, this is basically our kind of our classic segments from our our podcasts of yore, where we're basically going to put on some kind of dumpy-tastic rants about stuff that we just want to complain about. It's either been under our skin or simply just needs to be pointed at and mocked. So we're going to do a little show and tell of all of our suggestions, and we're going to agree by committee then, which is this week's COD. So I will start off this time because I think my one is like kind of relatively low hanging fruit in that respect. Because again, we didn't do podcasts last year, so this kind of like drama didn't exactly bubble up in kind of the banter that we had. Well, we did and didn't in the group chat, but not officially on the podcast. So I wanted to submit as my COD Trent Alexander-Arnold. Um, so
Jesus, I wonder why.
now here's the thing, right? So I do
Let
I do
it
want to
go,
call.
Jonathan. Let it fucking go, okay?
I know.
God, let him
No.
go.
Here's the thing,
You
right?
think this
I'm
is
not.
bad? I'd love to get one of my mates on because we call him a professional hater. He hate watches Madrid just so he can comment on Trent Alexander-Arnold.
Yeah. No. What I will say is I'm not. It's the reason I have him on as a COD is not necessarily because of him as a player, nor is it the actual, shall we say, the transfer to, or his kind of career decision to go to Real Madrid. I think it's just the overall reason why it happened, if that makes sense. Like Trent Alexander-Arnold is kind of served to be an example of why you don't follow the money and why you don't follow kind of like, why you don't listen to your dickhead of an agent who happens to be his brother. And because this has happened before to a certain degree. It's happened like it's very, very reminiscent of the Eden Hazard move to Real Madrid, where he kind of worked up such a storm at Chelsea. And again, Hazard had this kind of bizarre, like crest of a wave type of season where he'll be a world beater one season and then completely anonymous the next. Maybe it's a fitness thing, who knows? But then he had this like unbelievable year at Chelsea, got a move to Real Madrid off the back of it. I think they spent about 80 million on him or something like that because they definitely used the price against him at times. And he arrives to Real Madrid like overweight, no preseason, like really, really struggling to keep up, and just a cog in the machine. Like he's not even remotely close to the first team. He's just another player that is essentially like kind of like gathered like kind of like like Infinity Stones, and that's what Trent Alexander-Arnold is at the moment. This is a transfer that none of the parties have benefited from. Like Real Madrid are not a better team because Trent Alexander-Arnold is in it, and because they've still opted for Danny Carvajal when he is fit. Federico Valverde is now basically their kind of de facto right back, which is not his natural position. He's a number 8, but again, Valverde will play anywhere he wants because he's a very technically gifted footballer and has a good cross in him. Like, so he has the attributes to do what Trent Alexander-Arnold does on the pitch, but just isn't Trent, essentially. Gets a little bit more mileage in his legs. There's reasons why he's in the team, essentially. And then you also, on the opposite side, Liverpool have not benefited from this sale, if you can even call it a sale. We'd obviously got a couple of million for him because Real wanted him early for the Club World Cup. Liverpool are a worse team without him. Like Trent, even like Trent got a lot of like kind of criticism about his kind of defensive work and stuff like that. And yes, like tracking back wise, he wasn't very good. That was probably his one weakness. And especially if you put a player on him, he tends to go anonymous. But what Trent was very good at was essentially holding a position, because he was essentially like Trent wanted, in a weird way, wanted to kind of invent a position onto himself. That's essentially like almost similar to like a quarterback in NFL. He wants to be able to hang back and just sling balls across the pitch. And that's fantastic. If you have that ability in your team, you use it and you use it to its maximum. And Liverpool did. Like they kind of like mitigated the risk of having Trent doing that from right back as best he could in the team. And then Slot kind of looked at it and went, "Yeah, that's nice, but that's not the way I want to play." And that's kind of natural in a sense for a new coach coming in and want to stamp their way on it. So it was very obvious that that kind of Trent almost had this kind of like stepdad like attitude to it. Like the first game where he got subbed off and he was throwing a huff, like immediately you could tell, okay, his heart's not in this team anymore. So then obviously he runs down his contract. He gets like, this kind of gets courted by Real Madrid to become part of this kind of project and stuff like this. He's speaking Spanish, he's learning Spanish on the side and all that. Like objectively, I don't mind him going. Just the question is like, have you not learned from all the other players that have done this move? What is going to make you different to Philip Coutinho, who went to Barcelona? Who's going to make it different to
I think he
Hazard?
was hoping to be. I think he was hoping to be Beckham.
That
I
was
think
I was about to
Beckham
make a
was
comparison.
his.
Yeah, yeah.
It's what he had in his head. Yeah, and for a lot of Beckham's time there, he was just a cog in the machine.
Yeah, this is true.
Beckham
Yeah.
had to switch from playing on the wing to playing in the center because the person who plays in the wing is Luis Figo. So they couldn't take him away from that. They're
Yeah.
not going to take him away from that. So he had to play in the center. And Madrid's team is so good that he can play nowhere near the midfield. Like, he is not displacing anyone in Madrid's midfield. So he has to stick to where he's, I suppose, naturally trained. And as you just said, they play for Valde there, who just can play fucking anywhere. He's just a jack of all trades. He's a better John O'Shea who could play anywhere on the pitch. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah, I don't think they have to
it's
try
not the
Valverde at
same.
all.
Like,
Yeah. But that, no, you're absolutely right, Aaron, in a sense, and you made my point there in the sense that like while he was there, he went to Real Madrid for non-footballing reasons. It was ultimately to become a brand. It was ultimately to become a kind of household name outside of football, to become the kind of modern day David Beckham. And obviously, that's the kind of pipe dream he was sold either by himself or his brother or whoever else was advising him. Ultimately, it's horrendous advice because ultimately, what made David Beckham a brand and a star was because he is such a world class footballer, and you still have to be doing it while becoming a brand. Like as you said, he is a cog in the machine at Real Madrid, but he still whops up with a free kick every now and then. And if it doesn't happen at Real Madrid, he does it at AC Milan, at PSG, LA Galaxy. He goes around the world. Trent now has done his hamstring at Real Madrid without necessarily betting into the team. And again, in principle, you're looking at like a Xabi Alonso kind of wing back, kind of like, like death by width type of style of play. And you're thinking that is designed for Trent Alexander-Arnold. But then you read the fine print and actually no, is he going to dominate that flank? Probably not, because his style is holding a position deep and spraying the ball across. And in principle, him sending crosses to Vinicius Jr. or to Rodrigo or to Mbappe sounds brilliant in principle, but it's just not going to happen. Now, again, hopefully he might get like a better rubber green next, like either in the second half of the season or next year. But I just genuinely can't see the logic in it. Like, in the end, I respected his decision because, like, he's done everything with Liverpool. Like, he's won everything he needs to win. His time was up. He was done. He didn't want to play on the slots. And to me, it also kind of speaks a little bit to the problems that Slot has at Liverpool, which we'll get into another podcast. They're minor compared to what's happening elsewhere in the league, but he definitely has an affront to certain players, and he's wrong about a lot of them. But with Trent, at the very least, I don't think that was the case of him being alienated. It's just that he was a bit disenfranchised, a little bit disillusioned, and just wanted to change the scenery. And I don't blame him that, but the context of it is a bit fucking strange. Where like, if you want to be a star and you want to be known as the brand in the world of football, you have to be playing good and you have to be playing regularly. And what better way to do that is than at Liverpool, where you are a cult hero, where you are one of their own. And again, there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of fucking United way about it all with Carragher. And I think that's what kind of what kind of pushed him away faster was the fact that like he's being told you have to be this because you're a Scouser. It's like not necessarily. Like that's not true at all. Like he's not the first Scouser to have left Liverpool for Real Madrid, and he probably won't be the last. And that's just the way it is. Yeah, exactly. But again,
I think
it's just
what seems to annoy a lot of people as well. Sorry for cutting you off, but
sure.
what seems to align a lot of people with this specific transfer is because he was an academy graduate.
Oh yeah, definitely, 100%.
If he
to do with
was a
that.
player that if it was Andy Robinson, for instance, who
Yeah.
did the exact same transfer,
Mm.
I don't think Liverpool fans would give a shit.
No, they justify by saying it's a right time for the move, change of scenery, nice weather, all this stuff. They'd be
Yeah.
bent over backwards for it. Yeah, no, I absolutely
But to
agree.
be fair, he was an academy graduate, graduated by Klopp,
Yes.
who then won everything. Literally could not win anymore. Maybe
Yeah.
if you wanted to be pedantic about it, could have won a Club World Cup, but whatever. But then just had to move. There's only one other team who moved to from Liverpool. And it's the same when you leave United. If you're like a world-class player, it's Madrid. There's no other team on planet Earth you move to. So it's like, just go. I'm not happy about it, but you'd swear he like shat in the coffin the way out, and
Oh yeah, the reaction
mothers.
to it was ridiculous. Like it's this is where I'm pointing where this is a transfer that nobody's benefited from. Like the fan base of Liverpool, again, I don't count the online fan base because they're all fucking morons, but the sheer fact that like you're causing these little arguments and rows now, and you're creating a fuss when probably there wasn't needed to be one. Again, you could have just made the conversation and said, "Listen, I want to go to a new challenge," and be upfront about it. But because there was like little indications and clues along the way, and because just the media circle as it is in Liverpool just hyperbolizes everything, and then whether that brings Liverpool down the road of going, okay, we now need to buy a new creative force, which ends up being Wirtz, Hope and Frimpong as a kind of the deputy to that, if you like, and Bradley then coming up as well. So obviously it accelerates their kind of panic stations, going like, "Fuck, we need to replace our playmaker now," it's replacing a unicorn player, so they have to now buy a unicorn player to replace him. So it's just a transfer that nobody's benefited from. And again, like eventually, he probably is eventually going to come back to the Premier League under a different club. Might come back to Liverpool. You never know. I think Liverpool as a club will have him back.
There is a disgustingly weird rumor that United might go from, and I don't want that to happen, right?
No,
because I think that's a fucking disaster waiting to happen.
Yeah,
purely. I think Neil would probably agree with me. Purely for the meltdown that would ensue from a Liverpool graduate fucking off to Real Madrid in suspicious circumstances to then join United 2 years later would be the funniest fucking thing.
Again, it wouldn't be the first time it's happened.
No, it wouldn't be. It wouldn't be. But at least with this one, at least when Michael Owen did it, it was just like, all right, he wanted to win a Prem. There's no other team to go to at that point.
And then he was shot at that stage as well. Let's be fair.
And he was shot at that stage.
Yeah,
he was like
completely done by that point. Actually, and we might not see that with Alexander-Arnold. Like he's been really injured. Like he's had 3 separate injuries at Real.
Yeah.
He's had more injuries at Real than he did at Liverpool, which is incredible to say. Like we got the best out of him for those many years. But again, you could also argue that we ran him into the ground. So it depends on who you ask.
Yeah, maybe he needed a rest. I'm like he's 27, like so he's not exactly like he's not over the hill.
No, far from it. But bear in mind, he has been playing since he's been 17, like professional football. Like he is one of those kind of early, what they call an early developer.
That's what's going to fuck him as well. He's going to hit 30 and his legs are going to be gone.
It's the Rooney principle. Exactly, yeah.
It's the same with Saka.
Yeah.
His legs are going to be gone by the time he's 30.
That'd be grand. The new contract gave him takes him up till 31. Happy out with that.
Yeah, but would you not want a player like... See, this is why you're never going to get a Giggs again in football. Giggs was running a midfield at 38 against Real Madrid.
Well, porking his brother's wife at the same time.
No, I had finished
That's
that
what kept him youthful and energetic.
Yeah. But
he was so highly sexed, he couldn't even stop at his own family members.
That's why you're never going to get a player like him again. I know we'll eventually talk about United and whatever with Manu, but that's my worry about a lot of these English players. If they have any sort of talent at like 17, 18, it's like, right, they're not only just going to be starting in the Premier League, they're also going to be in the England over 21 squad. And they're going to have the weight of the world on their shoulders. And it's going to be a fucking disaster for everyone involved. Has no one learned from Jack Wilshere and has no one learned from Harry Kane, who didn't get into the Spurs squad properly till he was 21. You know what I mean? Like, that's
That's English football in a nutshell as well. It's like they need to
It's
gravitate towards
very
a
annoying.
cult of personality, yeah. And then throw them under the bus then when they fuck up. Like that's look at Gaza.
Yeah.
Gaza is a classic example of that as well.
Yeah.
So Aaron, we'll jump to you then for our next COD then, because you've signposted very well, and you did manage to mention United in the last segment. So what is, and again I asked the eternal question, it could very well be the title of the podcast depending on how my mood's tomorrow. What is the United way?
The United Way apparently is fucking complaining about everything and everything everything that happens in the last 13 years since Ferguson. This last week has been one of the most annoying times I've ever had as a Man United fan since Ferguson left. Why anyone with any sort of tactical nous would ever come to this club is baffling. Right?
Okay.
The United fan base loved Ruben Amorim because they knew they needed a manager who was going to be like, and I give him shit constantly, as Neil knows, Mikel Arteta. Right? They needed someone who was going to drag him through shit for 3 years before it eventually clicked. We knew this. Every Man United fan with a brain cell or 5 knew it's going to be a shit couple of years, but if we stick with him, it will work. And sacking him is the stupidest decision I've seen a club make in years. Any club. Of any. I understand it wasn't world class, and I understand Ruben Amorim wasn't the best manager going, and he was fucking annoyingly set on his tactical vision. But at the end of the day, he knew if he budged, he was fucked. And yes, we had moments where he did stand up playing forward at the back in the last couple of months, and it did work. But he needed to get it into the players' heads. It did a couple of times. He played forward at the back against. He played forward at the back against Wolves. It worked. He played forward at the back against Newcastle. It worked. And then he eventually switched the back to the Wolves again, and it didn't work.
Okay.
There's some United fans out there who are glad that he's gone. I hope they die.
Aaron.
I don't know if you heard that. Maybe my microphone might have picked that up. We got Aaron in the background.
No, I think we got that. I think we got that one, Aaron. Yeah.
Did you get that? Yeah.
Yeah. We'll boost it in post.
We'll boost in post. It's his two biggest issues at United, right, were his in-game management, which wasn't great. The man loved substituting centre backs 65 to 70 minutes in. Adored it. Favorite thing in the world, right? And his other thing was Kobbie Mainoo, who he just egregiously just didn't want to start. Okay?
Yeah.
I understand the Kobbie Mainoo thing because I think he was protecting him more than he was setting him back. Because there was too much weight in that young boy's shoulders too early on. We can all agree that Kobbie Mainoo has been phenomenal most of the time for United. I think we can. Maybe we can't. But he has
been a lot better than the players that have fielded in his place.
Yes, he is a genuinely gifted footballer and probably has the makings of an absolutely world-class midfielder in a couple of years. Playing him week in, week out at 19 years old is not the move, lads. You need to keep his head level and you need to make sure he doesn't pick up too many knee injuries or leg injuries at this age. I can understand why he didn't want to play Kobbie Mainoo all that much. It was frustrating as shit that he didn't want to do it. But I understand why. This whole thing that in his last 2 games, it was like, he's playing 7 defensive midfielders. Yeah, because he's got the Fletcher twins in the sub bench. What do you want him to do here? Everyone's injured. Like the board sacking him, it might be their death in it. If this isn't it, the next manager appointment is going to be it.
Well, the next manager appointment might be Solskjaer because Solskjaer is due for face-to-face this weekend.
I mean permanent. No, I don't mean interim. I mean permanent.
No. Solskjaer will probably be permanent. I don't see Solskjaer coming back on an interim basis. I wouldn't if I were him. He's not stupid.
I'm inclined to agree with Neil on this. Like, I think this is a backdoor way of getting it's as I think Roy Keane kind of gave it away last night when they kind of segued to talking about United at a Liverpool Arsenal game, but like it's the stench of Sir Alex Ferguson. They just can't clear it out of the club.
That's my other issue as well. Who in their right minds, as how old is Darren Fletcher? Is he in his 40s now?
Late 40s, I think late 40s, yeah, I'd say, yeah.
He's a grown man. And he got offered the interim role and he was like, better give Alex Ferguson a ring to make sure he's all right with it. Really?
Well, here's the thing. I'm not blaming. I'm not blaming Fletcher. Like, you know what? I'm blaming like Wilcox because it's, you know.
No, I'm blaming. No, it's Wilcox's fault. It's his fault. It's Ratcliffe's fault. But a lot of it has to do with the fact that the difference. Arsenal cut their ties with Wenger.
Yeah.
Right. So Unai Emery, when he came in, didn't have that spectre in the stands looking over him 16 games a season. Every manager that comes in has that, the greatest manager in football history looking over him every week. That's not healthy. It doesn't matter who it is.
But also, and just for the record, I'm quite relieved that like Klopp hasn't done that at Liverpool. Like he has not gone back to the lodge since he's taken charge. He has been like, doing his stuff with Red Bull and staying the fuck away. And even like when he was when he went on that fucking awful podcast with the Dairy CEO one, it basically like it was clipped to imply that he would go back to Liverpool. But like no, he just said like I would go managing again, but it's very specifically not mentioning Liverpool in that conversation.
Like it's getting really sickening to watch it because, and then this is where it goes in with the United way. Chloe, it's all they talk about. She's sick of me saying it. But the likes of the Neville's and Scholes and Nicky Butt, which I feel like are the three main fucking heads with this shit, just constantly, just like. Paul Scholes' son got involved with it on Twitter last week, saying that Ruben Amorim was a cunt and he should just take the payout and leave. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, didn't Scholes on a podcast, but I think he did a podcast with somebody else, and the two of them suggested Steve Bruce.
There's with Nicky Butts. They do their own podcast.
They have a podcast.
They do their own podcast with Paddy McGuinness, and that's where they did like who would you have as United manager, and they all just picked ex-United players. Yeah. They like looked at objectively. They said no to someone like Carlo Ancelotti, but they said yes to Roy Keane. It was Roy Keane they picked out who wanted as a.
That was Roy Keane is who they picked, right? Now, I again said this to Troy because I've been on a rant for the last four nights with this shit, right? Roy Keane, technically, I can see the logic on a short-term basis. Roy Keane's not a manager. Roy Keane is an assistant, but would break the souls of every player in that dressing room if he were to go in right now. A very fragile team who, by all accounts, loved Amorim and understood they may not be able to get the system that they're doing, but knew it was for the best of everyone else involved. And loved who he was. The younger players apparently really loved him. Aiden Haven adored him, apparently, and is not happy at the fact that he's gone. Luke Shaw is very unhappy at the fact that he's gone. Bruno Fernandes is not happy that he's gone. These are like Luke Shaw and Fernandes alone are Luke Shaw in terms of time and Fernandes in terms of the captain are two of the like leaders of the dressing room going, what? We've just signed Fernandes' debt nail in the summer. If we lose him, we're fucked. Fucked. We have no one in that team to replace the best attacking midfielder on planet Earth. The most productive attacking midfielder on planet Earth right now. We have no one to replace him.
But
and you've just signed a debt one.
I'll pose a question to you, Aaron. Can I pose a question to you? Because you were saying there about the kind of the whole argument United way. Do you think is the problem amplified by the fact that there are so many ex-United heads, particularly ex-Fergie heads in the media? Because if it's not Keane, you've got Scholes, you've got Ferdinand, and again a lot of these lads that do punditry as well. So like you've got so many of them in the kind of sphere, and again there's obviously Neville and Butt there as well. So like there's always people with opinions about United.
But if you think about it, the only people who are saying it are people that Ferguson brought in.
Okay, yeah, fair.
Sides, right? Keane said a line last night, which I don't know if you've seen on Twitter, for United fans started turning him because he said he's a stench. What was the actual
exactly.
wording?
Yeah, it was an
Yeah, he
unbelievable
was.
line. Yeah,
Yeah,
the
he's
smell
a
of Ferguson,
stench.
the smell of Alex
The
Ferguson.
smell of is around the hub, and apparently, who's the old? He wouldn't be it now, but the director of football that left the same season. I never remember his name.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the two of them apparently
I
are
keep thinking
still.
David Dean. It's not David Dean.
No.
It's not David Dean.
Brailsford.
No,
it was the Alex Ferguson's director of football. Yeah,
I
David
can never
something.
remember
Yeah.
his name. Yeah, so they're still kicking about the place, right? That's not healthy. Keane doesn't bullshit. Keane's biggest issue was the fact that none of them have any fight. To play at the biggest club on planet Earth, bar Real Madrid. That's Keane's biggest issue. That's always been his issue.
These United pundits just don't understand why Amorim or why Ten Hag or whoever isn't just buying the referees off like Man City are and like they used to. So they're just...
I'm not listening to that shite. But even Rio Ferdinand, has he ever come out and said the line the United way?
I don't listen to a lot of Ferguson. I don't listen to a lot of Ferdinand. Yeah.
No, he doesn't. He's a gimp, and he's very annoying to listen to. Let's be real. But he has players who actually call him beforehand to say, "Is this the right move?" And he has a bit of sway with getting players into the club sometimes because he's not a gimp in that regard. He's like, "No, you should," and if it works out well for you, and you do well, you're not just going to be another player at Man United. You're going to be a player that ended up bringing Man United back to the top. And it's a very the whole thing annoys me, and this has amplified it tenfold. Gary Neville 2 years ago said United should play a back three. He has done nothing but fucking complain for the last 14 months that we're playing a back three. What do you want? The only difference between the defense when Ten Hag was there and the defense now is Haven and Dorgu. That's it. And Wan-Bissaka's gone, who would fit beautifully into the setup, which is very fucking annoying.
It's bizarre, isn't it? It feels like it's like they bought players for the manager beforehand, isn't it? Because like Wan-Bissaka would have been perfect for Amorim. Mason Mount would have been perfect for Ten Hag. You know, Seth would have been perfect for Ten Hag even. Like it's just strange. Like it's
I did say that that it was weird getting a 3-4-3 manager when they'd gotten rid of all the 3-4-3 players.
Yeah.
You know, and they criticize him for playing too much 3-4-3. I'm like, but also like with that board as well, like Radcliffe has often stated that like how United play will be determined in this room during like board meetings. So it's the board, the executives that think that they know how they're doing it. Like Radcliffe's drawing on this massive amount of experience in petrochemicals to run a football club. You know, I think he's been petitioning the club. He's been basically trying to goad managers into playing Brian Mbeumo as a right wing back. And you're just going like, what the fuck are you talking about, pal? Shut the fuck up.
Shut up. Like
it's like Todd Bowley like trying to like do his ultimate 11 ended with 12 players. Like
exactly.
Same kind of energy.
Like this is the point where United are not I hate to say it, a top six club anymore. They'll win an FA Cup every 2 years. They'll win a League Cup down the road. They might even get a Europa League final and might win that every 6-7 years. Or make a final at the very least, which they have done. They won a Mourinho, they made the final with Ali, and they made the final with Amorim. They'll do that, but we don't win the league for another 5-10 years. 5 years is looking exceedingly unlikely.
Yeah,
and
I love so
much
ground in other clubs. Like you just got so much.
There's nothing there.
There's plans upon plans at other clubs.
When we were up for sale and the Glazers were looking to sell, I was very like, I do not want us to be a sports washing project. I never want United to be a sports. They're too ingrained in the local area. This is not just a football club. This is not a Madrid that I think could get over being bought out by a Saudi takeover. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, obviously they can't because of the way Spanish football is set up. But if they got bought out by the Saudis tomorrow, they'd be like, yeah, makes sense. Like, yeah, okay, yeah, because that seems like the club that would do it. But at this point, the only thing that gets us back to the top is getting a rich Saudi lad or just oil tycoon that has his own money or a country's money behind it to run it. Because we ain't doing it with the Glazers still there. Radcliffe ain't doing it. Wilcox coming out during the week going, I'm a bit of a coach myself. Then manage them. If you think you're a bit of a coach, you think that you're better than a coach that, albeit in Portugal, still won stuff. Do it.
Yeah.
I'm so angry and annoyed because after Ferguson left, we tried his predecessor and David Moyes, who at the time I was pushing for because he felt like a natural fit. That didn't work out. Fine. The club was too big for him at the time. We all thought it was going to work. At least United fans did. It didn't work out. Probably should have been given more time considering the squad that he inherited, that only Alex Ferguson could win with. That's fine. So then we went with the old head with Louis van Gaal, who is probably my favourite post-Ferguson manager because he's nuts. Love Louis van Gaal. He's nuts, right? He gets sacked before they win the FA Cup. Rooney's even come out and said he's his favourite manager except for Ferguson.
He got sacked just after, wasn't he? Because I remember we had that talk, we did a podcast shortly after that, and I was like, you know, for the club that's always going on about class and shit like that, like you fired that guy when the champagne hadn't even dried off his fucking jacket.
Yeah,
you know.
So then we went
because he did the press conference afterwards.
Yeah, and he looked deflated.
That he was sacked.
Yeah. He looked deflated. He was done. He'd never seen anything like it before. He then actually told Ten Hag, please don't. That won't go for anyone. Then we went with the most obvious choice that we should have went with when Ferguson left at the start, which was Mourinho, who was our most successful manager. He won a League Cup, a Europa League, and did he win 2 leagues? No, he won a couple of trophies when he was there. That died in the start 2.5 seasons in. Like all the times that he was in a club, it does die 2.5 seasons in. So then they went, right, let's go with the ex-player. And the Ollie came in, and it was a great 2.5 years till the third season. And it died a dead. And he lost 5-0 and 5-0 and 6-1 to two of the biggest rivals in City and Liverpool. Done. We then went to sign an interim manager who was going to become the new sporting director, and Ralph Rangnick, who I was like, okay, that's makes sense because he just did the Red Bull thing. Okay, I see this. He then told in the press conference, this place is a fucking mess. This needs a decade's worth of
such a
work.
cautionary tale when you hear back to it. Like,
Yeah.
it's such.
Did he say that the club needed open heart surgery?
Open heart, it needed surgery of the open heart, which is stuck in my head and will never leave me until we win a Premier League again. Then he said that, and he got sacked. He took the Austria job. He was like, I'm not staying here at all. Fuck this place.
Did he not go on to take that sporting director job that he like?
No, he fucked off. He took the Austria job. Same summer. He never.
But the whole reason he
took
even took the interim job was because they were going to bang him up to sporting director, and they didn't even do that.
Which he was fine with because he knew that was the case when he joined as interim. He knew he was never going to be the full manager. He just needed to come in to see how the team was and then just go, okay, this is how we need to fix it. Yeah. This is where we are. So then they get the Dutch ball lad who rebuilt Ajax after their kind of dip in the mid-2010s. And it became a force in Ajax again, in Holland again. So it was like, okay, this might fit. It's the same type of project, just at a much larger scale. It kind of works. He gets us an FA Cup and a League Cup, and everything seems grand. Probably should have dipped 2 years in. He didn't. He gets sacked in October.
Yeah. After the Brentford game was the death.
Yeah. He gets sacked in October, and then they go for what people thought was the heir to Pep in Ruben Amorim. Because apparently Man City had their eyes on him to take over from Pep anyway in the coming summer if he didn't join United. And this is the big one then for Ineos to go, right, this is what we're doing. This is our new setup. All good. We know what we're doing. Ratcliffe comes out and says he's got 3 years to prove he's a good coach. It's like, okay, we're settled. And he comes into the last couple of weeks and went, lads, I need a midfielder. Because if we don't get a midfielder, we're screwed. Or then the club went, right, we can't afford to get a midfielder. Also, so that thing that we signed you for, the whole tactical vision that you had, yeah, throw that out the window. I'm going to have to start playing 4 at the back. And he basically went, no, sack me. And they went, fine. And then we're left with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer coming back, possibly, which is looking increasingly likely. I like the man, but it's desperate enough if you hear a manager get sacked, you ring the club immediately, went, I'll do it free. Of course, Ratcliffe is going to do that. Of course he is. He just sacked a tea lady 6 months ago. Yes, of course he's going to take on a manager for free for 6 months. Or they're going to go with Michael Carrick. And so this leaves us now in a position where Carrick and the Ipswich manager, who, again, his name escapes me every time. His face is there. Kieran McKenna. Seems like the 2 options that I think they're probably going to go for, right? If Ipswich aren't complete dog shit in the championship, I don't know. I don't watch Ipswich.
They're more than likely going to get promoted. They're
more than likely going to get promoted, right? Then we have the 2 other options that I have. My dream scenario is dream, and as always has been. I said this beforehand. Is Ancelotti always wanted them at United? Do you think he's going to walk into a room and Wilcox is going to go, you play 5 at the back there, and he's going to turn around and go, what? No. And it's not like he wouldn't be up for the challenge. He joined Everton when they barely had 2 pennies to rub next to each other. Like, he doesn't mind where he goes into. He'll do it if he feels like he can do it. Yeah. Right? And then the other one, which is the new big thing in management, would be Luis Enrique. He's not going to go because Liverpool will probably change the manager in the summer, and he's the most obvious fucking choice out of all of them to take on that job. So it leaves us with Solskjaer's ex-assistant and Kieran McKenna, or another legend in Michael Carrick, who did a fine job at Middlesbrough, but never got promoted with him from the Championship.
Yeah.
But he was there for a while, to be fair. They gave him time, but he never did it.
Yeah.
So we're fucked.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah.
We're pretty much fucked unless we get bought out by a Saudi lad with $500 billion in the bank. And I come to accept the fact that I think in about 3 years we probably will be.
Yeah.
And then everything's going to be fun.
And you still have to deal with Luke Shaw.
I will somehow still have to deal with Luke Shaw. But it's
Luke Shaw at that point will be assistant manager, and then he can be the interim manager. Then that it's the cycle continues. Actually, no, in fairness, Bruno would be the assistant manager that would have to get the.
I do love as well how I love how every manager who's left United, by the way, fucks off almost instantly. And Amarim has just went, no, I live here now.
Yeah, he's probably going to take another job in England. Like, he probably will take a Premier League job. Like, it's insane.
In my FIFA save, I told you this a couple of months ago, Jonathan. My FIFA save, he takes off Crystal Palace after 16 months. He could probably take the Palace job.
Yeah.
Unless Man City go with the audacious attempt of he was our heir from the start. Fuck Maresca.
No, I think that ship is.
I don't think he probably would. I don't think he would. I think he's too much respect for the fans of Man United. Like, he's angry at the rich lads at the top. He's not angry at anybody else.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's a disaster. It's sickening to watch, where the greatest club in England, I'm sure Jonathan might have something to say about that, but with the second biggest, what we'll say is with the second biggest club in planet Earth, right? In
the modern era, Manchester United are the biggest club.
On planet Earth in general.
Behind Real Madrid.
What's that again?
You're like a broken record. You're going to say biggest player
behind
Real Madrid.
But basically just settling to be a cup team.
Actually, if you want disasters, Wrexham just beat Forest.
Yeah, so it could be worse, you know. Yeah, penalties. It was 3-3.
We lost to Grimsby this year in penalties. Doesn't get worse than that.
It can.
It can.
So
Mick McCarthy. Oh, it can.
So to finish our cards here, Burkbots, you have been waiting patiently.
I ranted way too long. I'm very sorry. I'm very angry.
It comes across. It comes
sad.
across. So, Burpa, you want to talk about the glory and the pride that is the multi-club ownership structure.
Yeah, I don't think I can go into as much depth as Aaron did on that, but just it's been in the news recently with Chelsea being taking Strasbourg's coach because it's practically their own coach, just moving across teams. But also in the women's game, it has come right to the forefront for the WSL with Michelle Kang. Her ownership model has been of benefit to London City Lionesses, which are effectively Lincoln's old women's team has just been bought out to become its own entity. And they are actually pushing for European places, which gets very interesting because they were not expecting to be pushing for European places this soon. And um, what happens if they get into Europe is they're one of them or Leon, like the giant titans of the women's game, will have to compete for the European spot. So obviously
Oh,
Leon wins out over the weightings of the leagues, depending on where the London City Lionesses do finish in the league, unless they win it. But as well as that, it's just kind of becoming right to the forefront. It's going to be a problem in the next year or two. London City Lionesses are going to be, with the money that's been pumped into them, are going to be competing for the WSL title. And what happens when when they're first or second place and they're up against Leon, who gets into Europe then? Because that is a huge game changer. And as well as that, basically the success of the men's teams, like your Red Bulls and your Eagles and whatever of these other franchises that have bought multi clubs across different leagues, what they're finding is that teams can have moderate financial success for their board members. So therefore they are buying more teams, get some more revenue, happy days. So it's a lot of smaller clubs in the European leagues are being bought up by these multi-club ownerships, and it's going to be very interesting because teams like Bristol City, who have actually got a decent women's footballing history in recent history, while they're in the championship now, they have been they were one of the first teams in the first ever WSL. They have been bought out, which is going to mean there's like just it's gonna cause ripples, it's gonna cause waves, and as much as it's despised in the men's game, it is being promoted for the women's game because anything that is new and innovative in the women's game has to be good, and it's just something that like have we not seen from the destruction that the City Group have played on the transfer market, how the Blue Co Group, like how these are destroying the inflation of prices, destroying the uh, competition between clubs for decent players and upcoming players. Why is this being celebrated in the women's game? And it's just, I'm sick of people like Ineos and Blue Co ruling football, and they're like these rich billionaires who are just coming in on a whim of like, what will I spend my money on today? Wahaha, let's buy a player from one team to another team and put it off the books as a hotel investment. Like, this kind of shit is just like, I don't see football getting repaired from this. I don't think there's a way back. And now that it's in the women's game, I don't see a way back from that either. So I just feel like Caesar acted a piece in the Guardian about it, just not necessarily going one side or the other, but just kind of stating how prevalent it is. Because I didn't even realize how prevalent it is. Like there's a Bay City in the US have been bought out by a group now, and that means that there's players like the US model is a franchise system, so you play for the franchise and you can just be sent over to a different team on a whim, and
yeah.
that's going to then limit what teams you can be sent to, which means their whole transfer system is going to get depleted, which means that's where you're going to see the likes of Trinity Rodman moving across to fucking Chelsea. But yeah, just watch the space because I feel like it's just going to be the death of actual football, and it's going to be the lining of billionaires' pockets further.
Yeah, I think that's unfortunately that's kind of direction of travel with a lot of especially in the men's game. You're like it's I suppose it's actually kind of more it's gonna be more centralized or crystallized even in the women's game because it's ultimately kind of like less of an ecosystem than there is in the men's side. Like at least in the English side, like you have that kind of football pyramid there, so you wouldn't necessarily notice a say a League Two team pairing up with a league with a or sorry, say like a championship team pairing up with a team in the continent, let's say, or vice versa, until it becomes an issue. Um, but even on the multi-club ownership stuff, like we actually have quite a lot of knowledge about this because of what's happened in the League of Ireland as of late.
Hmm.
So for those uninitiated, if you're not it's like if you're not on the island, tilly potato, top of the morning to you. But what we're doing here is like Drogheda what is in a multi like club ownership scheme with Walsall and Silkeborg, which is a Danish team. Waterford are also in a scheme in a structure as well. They're in with Fleetwood Town. I think Fleetwood then have I think a team in either Scotland or Wales. I can't recall.
Cork
Clare,
or a Cork in that too, I think, or they
no,
loose. It's more of a
I think it's
loose one,
loose.
isn't it?
Yeah, it's more like it
Yeah,
is an investment in Cork than anything else.
yeah.
But like the actual ownership is like Waterford Town is owned by the Fleetwood Town owners, who's hilariously in prison for being a tax dodger, which is hilarious. He's a massive Brexiteer, so score one for the good guys, I guess, putting that cunt in behind bars. But the thing is the thing is well that like there have been little inklings into the League of Ireland like that, little feelers being sent out into like kind of bigger clubs. We haven't like one of our other discussions that we'll have for another podcast about Scottish football, and they've recently had that now as well, where Brighton's kind of structure has put a bit of money into Hearts, and as part of the deal, they got access to Jamestown Analytics, which is the team the company they use to recruit players for Brighton. So therefore, you can get them for like so Brighton's sister team is Union Saint-Gilloise in Belgium. They've now, of course, qualified for the Champions League. They've become Belgian champions, benefiting from this analytics group. So now Hearts have done the same thing. They're able to recruit from all these different divisions, find exactly the perfect players for the Scottish like Premiership and for their team. And now in Ireland, Shelburne are using Jamestown Analytics. And they're going to be recruiting players in the same way. Now, does that mean there's a bit of like Brighton money going into Shelburne? Nobody knows. But they are using the analytics team. As I understand as well, Shamrock Rovers had interest from Bournemouth to become part of their structure as well, because Bill Foley not only owns Bournemouth, but he also owns Lorient, which is in I think they're in League Two at the moment. But again,
They're
they're
in League Two,
prominent
yeah.
enough. Yeah, they're a prominent enough French team. And again, it always comes from the kind of aspect of like, oh, we're just like financially like kind of like, trying to stabilize these teams and we get our pound of flesh from it and go from there. So they've thrown some money to Hibs, for example. So Hibs are now like will slowly, gradually become this kind of group with Bill Foley. And there was interest in buying a stake in Shamrock Rovers. It was revealed there in AGM last year that there was interest from Bournemouth to basically buy stakes from like I think it was either possibly from Dermot Desmond or maybe from the kind of the block of like members that Rovers have that basically kind of like prevent Desmond from buying the rest of the club. But that was kind of thwarted back and they basically kind of moved on to different targets, let's say. So it is like as more as the League of Ireland gets more popular, it now kind of becomes a target for millionaires or billionaires to invest in these teams. And again, this is not new for Ireland. Like Athlone Town get new owners every season. And nobody knows who they are. They're like mystery investors, like some sort of fucking romance novel. You know what I mean? It's not a good structure. But at the very least, like again, it's that
Well,
kind of thing.
it's not a good
More
structure for the men apparently, but as you said to me, the women apparently are just fine with it because they
well,
seem to be the best team in the women's league. So
by a country mile. Like they've won. I think they are. Barbara might correct me on this, but I think they're back-to-back league champions now as well, off the back of like losing their manager to Dundalk. But again, they're also like they've also happened to have the best striker in the league in Kelly Brady, who's now moved on to Crystal Palace, and she'll probably start for them to be honest, because she is that good. Um, but it's that kind of thing where like it's just it as I said, like the one that's in the news right now is obviously Chelsea and Strasbourg, and the like Strasbourg getting nothing out of that deal. Like they might get a couple of they're getting loans from Chelsea for all these players. And again, what's very insidious about it is that the headline I remember I think over the summer they signed Julio and Enciso from Brighton, but the headline wasn't that Chelsea signed him. Blueco have signed Julio and Enciso to their structure, so he can go wherever they want him to go, which is either to Chelsea or Strasbourg or elsewhere. And it's not the same. Like even to in fairness, right, Red Bull are the kind of the poster childs for this. They kind of started this whole thing between Salzburg, Leipzig, and all the other projects around the world. But they've never done that. They've never done say, oh, this is like they've done
Yeah,
multiple different sports, but
that's
never
the
in
thing.
football.
That's the thing with Red Bull, right? They it was like a hierarchy as well with their clubs.
Yes, there's a structure to
Like
it. Yeah,
basically, you went from Red Bull in New York to Salzburg. No, was it? No.
it
Yeah,
depends because they would
that,
in the Red Bull, New York Red Bulls would have access to the college football in the same way that like college soccer in a
yeah,
sense.
but I mean in the sense of is Salzburg that's the Austrian team, and then you had Red
Yes,
Bull in Germany. So it was like
which is
Leipzig,
Leipzig.
yeah. There we go,
Yeah.
yeah. So it was like they're the three. So that's how the all Leeds manager, the American lad, that's how he worked his way up.
Yes.
And it was obviously not great, but it didn't seem as insidious. It's just this is a great way of trading talent to get from point A to point B. And if it works out, great. If it doesn't, you can just let him stay at New York or Salzburg for 6 or 7 seasons, give him maybe lower than normal wages, and maybe we might sell him on to whoever eventually. But with the Chelsea one, it's dodgy. It's really dodgy.
Yeah,
like Ben Chilwell,
it's not beneficial to whoever's second in that structure. But same with City. Like as Burkhardt said, the City Football Group has ruined more clubs than it's benefited.
Yeah,
like, it's all up to it all travels upwards. It doesn't go back down, and it doesn't intend to. And again, like Ineos is the same way. Like they've driven Nice into the ground, and they have this kind of such a mixed bag of success. You know, it's like it
that's
just doesn't work.
By the way, that's not the only club he owns. He also owns one in Austria or Switzerland. And that's
like Ineos own like 3 teams, and in every one that they've owned, they've gone down at least 6 places in their league. You know, within as an average, like it's just I just feel like
it's not great. Red Bull did it right, and everyone went, well, we'll just match that. And I don't think they realized why Red Bull did it well. Now everyone else is trying to try it, and there's only few people who have gotten it right. The Brighton ownership got it right in regard, like they did. They had Brighton. They got a small nation's GDP off Chelsea. They've used it to help Hearts and the rest of their teams. Like, yeah, of course, you want to feed the lowest part of it to the biggest team eventually.
Yeah,
but the lowest part of it still has to be successful in wherever the fuck they are.
But see, that leads on to the other problem now, because like there's a distinct there is a real possibility that like Brighton, Hearts, and USG could all like qualify for the Champions League next season. So what happens when they do that? Who gets present?
That's probably the biggest issue they have with the multi-club ownership at the moment.
This is basically condensed capitalism in such a small area.
Yeah.
So therefore, it's already reached its end. It's like the death by capitalism in such a microcosm of football, of sporting worlds, and there we go. That's it.
Yeah, and especially
I think as well when Red Bull as well got around it.
Yeah.
All the clubs are named Red Bull, insert name here, but they're all technically owned by different people. They're all separate entities.
They've done the blind trust thing that like Crystal Palace tried to do with UEFA, but they didn't do it early enough, basically, to satisfy UEFA.
Yeah, and it seems like as well John Textor was not liked by any Palace fan, as far as I can see online. So they were just like, oh, he's gone. Oh, thank God. Oh my God, he was a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
So it did seem like, all right, it was like, okay, that's the one good thing that's come from it. That prick's gone. But it's like none of the clubs are doing it properly. So there will come a point if, let's say, Strasbourg suddenly become force in Ligue 1. They won't. But if they did, where that team could finally make the Champions League in about 5 or 6 seasons, and Chelsea could also make it, and they're just going to go, oh, fuck you.
Or better yet, Strasbourg have a year where they would get Conference League to Europa League football, but if Chelsea underperform, then Strasbourg get bumped off. So that's even more unfair to their structure. Like again, like this is where the lobbying kind of takes into play, because Granada are part of the City group as well, but they were allowed to play in the Champions League along with Manchester City, and they actually played them in the Champions League. So again, this is where the politics come into play here, because the City Football Group have obviously like presented their case to UEFA well enough that they can just lobby them enough to say, actually, no, this is different, same ownership but different person, and do the Red Bull
Yeah.
excuse. And if it works for them, great. But again, it's that same thing where like, what's the end point of all this? Is that like basically all football clubs are owned by four different people, and as Burkwell said, like that's going to happen faster in the women's game just because there's like less to take over. Essentially, it's like there's nothing stopping a multimillionaire buying a whole rake load of women's football clubs and just having his own mini league with all fucking eight of them. Like that, it's the quickest way to a super league you'll ever see.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It is getting to the point where it is getting a little bit. Chelsea will fuck it up for everybody else. That's what. No, like I mean, it's a joke because Chelsea do tend to take the piss with everything they do, and then eventually you wait for a FIFA step in and go, "Oh, come on, right? We give you a bit of fucking leeway here, but like you can't say the player on a 10-year contract and spread out the payments over 10 years. Come on, lads, you can't be doing that."
To be fair, yeah.
It will get to a point where Chelsea will do too many dodgy deals with Strasbourg and let's say another random club they'll buy in like South America or another European club, and they'll just FIFA step in and go, "We gotta stop this."
FIFA will step in and say eventually those 115 charges will be dealt with, but we will just wait.
Yeah, that too. Yeah,
Yeah.
I suppose. Yeah.
Exactly. Neil, do you have a card to throw into the fire here, or would you like to be our judge of parent for this episode?
Oh, I think I'll do the judging. I like
All right,
judging.
go for it. So between the United Way, Trent Alexander-Arnold, and the multi-card ownerships, what are you picking as your card?
Gotta go with multi-club ownership because it's fucking ruining everything. Like like the Strasbourg, like the fans are doing like serious protests.
Yeah.
Also, by the way, Strasbourg have another sporting director, so that's yet another sporting director of them. Blue Co love their sporting directors, but yeah, no, it has to be multi-club ownership. It's awful, it's terrible, and the problem is that like so many people actually think it's the way forward.
Yeah, that's the scary bit. Yeah.
That's the problem about it. It's kind of like it's sort of like trickle down economics where like this doesn't work. It's never worked. Every time you've tried to implement this has failed miserably, abjectly, horribly. And but there's still evangelists out there like, no, 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 no. Give the rich all the money and it'll all come down. But there's still so many owners out there, so many clubs out there, fans are just like, yeah, multi-club ownership actually works. I was like, no, it doesn't.
Yeah. Again, there's been so many cautionary tales over the last few years that like again like the Pizza family got ahead of the game in a sense and had these three teams that ultimately did nothing. Like Watford haven't achieved anything, Udinese haven't achieved anything, and Granada haven't like pulling up at the bootstrap doesn't work. Like like
you have to admire the fact that they
managed.
managed. You have to admire the fact that they have got three clubs and every single one of them is shite.
Yeah, but
like, no one has benefited at all from it. Like,
but that's
maybe the managers they've sacked with all the payouts they've gotten, they probably benefited from.
Well, that's what I was going to say is the fact that like it is technically a successful structure because they're all equally average and they're never going they are never going to be ships in the night. Watford will never meet Granada in the Conference League. It's just not going to happen. But what will happen is that you'll get a couple of million from doing those kind of like insular, like those very incestuous fucking transfers between the three clubs, and that's what sustains them all. In a weird way, that's an ecosystem that works, where you are able to just basically like have a little Bermuda Triangle to yourselves, and that'd be my fear for like certain teams, like say, like what happens if someone takes off a Hearts, they're just immediately going to go to either USG or Brighton. But what's weird about that is that like there's a couple of players that have moved back and forth between USG and Brighton, and it's usually like I think the one like, that comes to mind is Dennis Undav. Undav like went from Brighton to USG, scored 20 goals in Belgium, but Brighton never used him. They sold him to Stuttgart for cash profits. That's using your system very smartly, where you're sustaining the profit amongst the group. So like there'll be a sell-on clause between USG now and Brighton, and like while Brighton sell the player, USG get the profit and stuff like that. That's smart business. Brentford had to have that with Midtjylland as well. Hence why like our entire team was like the Danish national team for a while. But that's starting to fade away now a little bit and they're a bit more autonomous. So it's the same thing.
One of the ones I think one of the big failures is of multi-club ownership that happened and kind of went under the radar for years, where the fans kicking out about it, was actually Charlton. they're one of the big.
Oh, very true. Yeah, I forgot about Charlton. Yeah.
Charlton were part of a multi-club ownership before multi-club ownerships were cool, and the owner of that saw one good season with each Charlton player and sold them on to, was it Rapper VN? I think it was.
Maybe.
It was another. It was a team on the continent, and the fans were just going, "Are we allowed to have any happiness?" Or like,
But that's
this
what
lad's just
Strasbourg are
scored.
saying now. Yep.
Well, see, that's the thing. At least there's logic to Rossinier fucking off to Chelsea, because in any other normal time, if it wasn't even under a multi-club ownership, if Chelsea come knocking and you're at Strasbourg, unless the weather is so nice in Strasbourg you don't want to leave it, you're probably going to take the fucking Chelsea job. That's fine. But with Charlton, the Charlton one specifically, the club nearly went bust about like 2 times under his ownership. And the Football League have kind of done nothing. They've just fiddled around with some finances, like, oh, it's all okay now. We're all fine. Like, at one point, Charlton were a stable Premier League club.
Yeah.
Like, they were with Alan Kirbishley. Remember him? They were
I try not to.
They were stable Premier League side. Like, granted, the only memory I have of Charlton in the Premier League is Van Persie's volley and him standing on the stands afterwards. That's like my main Charlton memory. But now they're just a team in League One that gets the odd berth in the Championship once every 5 years.
Yeah.
And goes back down to League One again, gets into some serious financial trouble, and somehow managed to make it out of it, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, they're basically a bubble club between League One and Championship now at this stage, which again is properly, again, it keeps them out of trouble in that sense.
They're a club that are actually funding their women's championship team for promotion. They've got a couple of good players, one of which being Chloe Mustaki, who is on flames, as the kids say at them. So,
to be fair, she's been playing brilliantly for Ireland, so I fully endorse that millennial language.
That's Gen Z, that's Gen Alpha language at this point. On flames, the way you said that as well was proper adult. It was like, on flames, as the kids say.
So yeah, I think we'll leave it there for tonight, lads. So that's our call for tonight, the multi-club ownerships and all of the evils and curses in between. Once again, as we've proven with many a podcast, capitalism is the enemy all along, and must be stopped in any way or form. So until we do find a cure for capitalism on this podcast, we'll leave you for this week, and we'll be back in a couple of weeks' time then to just talk about whatever else is on our mind. Who knows what will happen in the 2 weeks of action between this, the Premier League, we were going to talk about Scottish football, we never got to in the end, and with the League of Ireland kicking off soon as well, so we'll have that to discuss too. So until then, I'll say thank you very much to our contributors, Neil, to Aaron, and to Berkbot, our Roman reporter tonight, and we'll see you all next time for the next episode of the Liquid Football Podcast. But until then, that was all Liquid Football.